The following podcast contains naughty language and ridiculous situations. Listener discretion is advised.
Tonight, I'm excited because once again, we are having a Patreon takeover. And right now, we are being joined by a brilliant blogger, a connoisseur of fine lager. His contributions to not only the show creatively and financially is well appreciated. And I got to say right now, I have no resentment when I give a big ol' ups to our boy, EF Contentment. So welcome to Trick or Treat Radio.
You're listening to Trick or Treat Radio, starring the Deadites.
Welcome to episode 489 of Trick or Treat Radio. Trick or Treat Radio is the world's most dangerous podcast and is recorded in front of an undead studio audience here at Castle Wolfenstein. Also at the Lair of Lost Swag within the technical difficulties. Apparently Raven Shadow cannot broadcast his camera, so we're working on that. But we want to go live. We'll take a look and see if we can fix that. But as of right now, Raven Shadow is a technical difficulties box. We also broadcasting.
He's been a technical difficulty for years.
He's not wrong, right?
That's fair. That's fair. I ain't saying nothing yet.
Yet. Oh, man. We're also broadcasting from Casa de 50. Looks like MZ got a fresh new do.
I do have a fresh new do, and I'm also very perplexed. Which one do you think is the better film? You guys tell me. This will be just be Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal or Mickey Rose's Student Bodies.
What? That's a tough one.
What the fuck is this bullshit?
I'm just having a hard time right now dealing with it. I don't know which one is better. I watched them both recently, and I'm stumped.
I'm stumped. What's going on here?
That question couldn't have waited until we got through the rest of the mini intros here.
No, I was about ready to explode. So
We're also broadcasting from the Lair of the Gods, and also from the West Coast. We are joined. I can't do it as eloquently as Raven Shadow did, so I'm not even going to try. We are joined for this Patreon takeover by our good friend EF Contentment. What's up, EF?
Howdy, gentlemen. I have to say it's a tough choice between The Seventh Seal and Student Bodies because on the one hand, The Seventh Seal is a very gripping, stark tale about mortality, and Student Bodies has a guy who pees red. I mean,
yeah, but the Seventh Seal does not have any horsehead bookends either.
No, it doesn't. And it's actually the first thing that came up to my mind about that movie is probably a joke that I shouldn't repeat on this show before you get taken off the air. It's like the worst jokes come up in general, really, not just that movie, but in life. That's just my sense of humor. It's a good thing I was never on the air, otherwise I would have been canceled so many times over.
Well, if we haven't been canceled yet, EF, I'm not sure anything we can do now will help. But
right.
Yeah. But it's great to have you on the show once again, and of course we appreciate all your support over the years, and it's always a blast to do these. And last one was a doozy. I think last time we did Phantom Thread and the Death. What was it? Something Death Club.
Death Wish Club.
Death Wish Club. That's it. Yeah.
AKA Greta.
Yes.
AKA Carnival of Fools. aka the movie Aries put me on a hit list after watching
God.
the
You know what? I couldn't remember what movies you'd pick. That I was like, I know I fucking hated it, but I couldn't remember. And then you said, I'm like, oh yeah, that fucking movie.
Now I remember why I hate this motherfucker.
Well, we will see if Aries has renewed his hatred for EF this year.
Why break precedent? You know? Let's stay consistent.
Oh.
So I guess we'll just go ahead and right off the bat here, let folks know what we're going to be talking about. So EF picked 2 films for us, and the films we're going to be talking about are, both of them are older films, one from 1968, one from 1978. First up, we have Even the Wind is Afraid. I'm going to butcher the Spanish. Hasta el viento tiene miedo. And that was from 1968, so we're going to be checking that out first, and then we're also going to be talking about a film from 1978 called The Silent Partner, which I got to say, I don't think I had heard of either one of these, EF. It's possible I heard of The Silent Partner because just who's in it, but I definitely hadn't seen them, and it's very possible I haven't even heard of either one of them, and I was actually kind of surprised by that. So it's always a pleasure to be introduced to movies that I had no idea existed.
I mean, that's cool to know. I know a couple weeks ago or something when you were telling me like, oh, you're up, EF, you're gonna do the Patreon takeover. What movies do you have in mind? And I told you, and I said, look, I don't know if you guys have covered these movies before,
Yeah.
and I know you were amused by that.
I was, yeah.
And it's just like, look, I mean, you've been on for like almost 10 years.
Yeah.
I've been here for like 4 of them. For all I know, maybe I know one of them probably could have been mentioned along the way. So I just wanted to be safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's cool to know that you guys haven't seen the film. That's half of it. The other half, we'll find out whether you even like the film. It's like you know what? It was better off forgotten. But I have, my reasoning for picking those movies we'll get into when we discuss them proper.
Okay. Yeah. Great. MZ, had you ever heard of either one of these?
The Mexican film I have not. Silent Partner, I have heard of before, but I've never seen it.
Okay, cool. So, and how about you, Aries? Had you seen either of these?
I hadn't seen them. To my knowledge, I hadn't heard of either of them. The names didn't sound familiar to me at all.
And I'm not even going to bother ask Raven Shadow.
Fuck! Why not?
All right, Raven Shadow, had you heard of either one of these films?
Dude, everyone's fucking seen these movies. What the fuck are you talking about? I fucking know this. I mean, no, I didn't. I didn't. But I would have thought I would have heard of Silent Partner, once again, just for the cast and the time frame. But I got to say, I was actually really disappointed that one of these films was not Blood In, Blood Out, Not My Blood, because I was like, what the fuck, dude? I want to watch that again right now.
Yeah, just a quick little catch up for people listening who might not be aware, but Raven Shadow and I share a love for that film, for Blood In, Blood Out, aka Bound by Honor.
Oh.
Yeah. Now I'm regretting not picking that movie.
Right. Oh man.
Thanks a lot, Raven Shadow. I feel like a bigger asshole than usual.
Wow, way to appeal to our guest there, Raven Shadow.
No, we have a bond. We have a bond about that, and we talked about it ad nauseum in the last Blackout tapes about that. I'm gonna do a Blood In, Blood Out. I think one of those like minute by minute podcasts. That's
it's a 3-hour movie, so that's a pretty good long run we would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, break it down minute by minute.
Yeah, Jesus. So like there'd be like what 2 minutes devoted to attempted prison rape.
You get that pork chop. Yeah.
I don't want his pork chop. I want his life. See, forget the movies. Raven Shadow and I are just going to start quoting Blood In, Blood Out. Hey, Cinderella, go find yourself another fella. You're on the clock. It's midnight is coming.
No matter what context that's in, that's hysterical.
It is hysterical. That a lot of that film is hysterical. It's like it's a great drama, but it's also incredibly funny, and it has possibly the greatest racist character in cinematic history because he says the most awful things about everybody, and yet I love him.
Wow, even more than Fight for Your Life.
Oh,
With
no, I didn't like that guy though, but it was just as hilarious.
oh brother, oof. That was harsh.
I actually inflicted that movie on a group of friends. And I didn't mean to because it was my first time watching it too. I was like, hey, this movie seems really cool. And I put it on. And oh man, that was like Springtime for Hitler. The audience walking out of that show. Those were my former friends after that movie.
Never to be seen again.
Yeah.
God damn, what was I'm looking it up now. I'm trying to remember the guy's name.
The actor was William Sanderson, right? I think
William Sanderson. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Blade Runner and Newhart.
Newhart. Yeah.
Deadwood.
Oh,
Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. Yeah. Deadwood. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he was vicious in that movie. Jesus.
Oh, he was great. And for a while, he kind of disowned the movie, I believe. Like for a while, he didn't want to talk about it. But I think once guys like Tarantino started, actually, I watched that movie at Tarantino's theater. They screened it at an all-night horror film festival, which makes perfect sense if you watch that movie. But I think maybe he kind of started coming around to it, like, oh, well, Tarantino likes it, you know.
Well, he would like that. I mean,
he absolutely would.
It's right up my alley too. It's a fantastic movie. The editing is a little wonky, but
it's clearly a low-budget movie, but it's strong. It's strong.
It's
the guy. Okay, so I'm sorry we're completely derailing this show, Johnny, but we just have to do it. It's my $10.
Yeah.
But no. So the guy who wrote the movie was Straw Weissman, I think was the guy's name, who made another questionable, entertaining movie called Grave Robbers, which he directed, I believe, and I think that's on Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome. That's also worth a watch. You want a double feature? See, that's the move. The next time I con a girl into going out with me, I'm going to have her watch a double feature of Fight for Your Life about this incredibly racist, murderous piece of shit, followed up by Grave Robbers about a guy who marries a woman so then he can kill her and have sex with her afterwards. That's that is the you plan romantic evening.
Do you plan on tying this young woman up because you think someone's going to sit through both of these?
No, I'm going to boxing Helena her. That's what I'm going to do.
Helena.
Oh, man.
I'll just leave it at that.
Wow. All right, I'm gonna interrupt the derailment real quick. Raven Chat, I logged into your computer, remote desktop in, and it says it's having trouble connecting to your camera. So I got to restart Skype on your end. We're gonna drop you for a few minutes, okay?
All right, thank you.
So we can get you back. So all right, we're gonna lose Raven Shadow for a moment, but I'm gonna try and get him back super quick. Hopefully his camera connects this time.
To be fair, Raven Shadow was lost a long, long time ago.
Well, yeah. That is fair. So, what's been going on in your neck of the woods? I know you got the blog. You occasionally put out some podcasts. Let folks know what's been going on with you.
Actually, let me digress into a neck of the woods thing. December of 2003, I was at a Christmas party that a former friend invited me to. And I was talking to this girl. And somewhere along the way, I said that line. I said, oh, so what's going on in your neck of the woods? And she stood back and went, huh? And I was like, what's going on in your neck of the woods? Like, what does that mean? And she was legitimately creeped out, which, considering what I just said about a minute ago, is perfect. That makes perfect sense that she would be creeped out by it. But like that term, I was like, what's his name? The fat dude on the Today Show,
Al Roker.
Al Roker, thank you, sir. Says it all the time. And she was just like, I don't remember him saying that. And I was like, listen, man, if you don't want to talk to me anymore, just walk away. Don't play this head game with me. Merry Christmas. No, so anyway, you're asking how I'm doing. Well, you mentioned the blog/podcast. I put out a new one about a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, where I complained about car salesmen because I went to buy a new car, and then I bitched about humanity. And in between that, I talked about Terrence Malick's most recent film from a couple years ago, A Better Life. Oh, no, A Hidden Life. I'm sorry. Better Life is a different one. A Hidden Life. So that's there for anybody who wants to listen to it or read it, because it's basically a transcript of what I ramble about.
And folks can find that. It's exiledfromcontentment.com, right?
.blogspot.com, but you could just Google Exiled from Contentment, or you can Google EF Contentment, all one word, and you'll find it. You'll find something related to it there, and it'll take you there.
Cool. Yeah, so folks can check that out. And I saw, let's see, you post a lot of your reviews on social media, which is pretty awesome. And I saw that was it Black Licorice? Is that the new?
Oh, no, Licorice Pizza.
I'm sorry, yeah, Licorice Pizza. It's a weird name, but but yeah. So I know that you're a big fan of Paul Thomas Anderson. So is that one that you would recommend?
Yeah, I would actually recommend. That's the one film of his that I would feel comfortable recommending to anybody, because it's really like his version of like an 80s teen comedy, or or even like a 70s adult comedy, if that makes sense. He kind of mixes up the sensibilities with this movie. It's very quotable. I've only seen it once, right? But like, there's lines there where I'm like, oh yeah, I could see myself quoting it. Just it's one of those movies I actually would like. And I found out later, I think he was sort of inspired by movies like this, but like movies like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, movies from like, the 80s like that. And it has that feel to it. It takes place in the 70s, but it has that feel to it of like this. It's basically a master filmmaker making a 70s/80s teen comedy. And it's very entertaining. I would totally, like, no problem recommend. I would never have it on Trick or Treat Radio. Let's put it that way. I give you the more difficult watches. It's like I don't give you the fun stuff.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it looks like it's pretty good though. But that's cool to hear that he's doing like a kind of a 70s, 80s style teen comedy. So it should be fun to check out. You saw that in the theater, right?
Yeah, I saw it in the theater. So for a few months now, I've been going to the movie theater, taking that risk. And but the thing is, up until this one, I've been going to the. I'm a member of the AMC A-list.
Ooh,
okay,
MZ.
So here we go. MZ, I wouldn't mind if you do the A-list voice, considering you might not do it again after this. But I
A-list member.
The A-list, member of the A-list.
Give me my
chair.
popcorn.
Just
I
for
am an
me.
A-list member. I deserve the best.
I must have my popcorn now. No, so I've been going to the.
Milk duds. I did not ask for black licorice. I wanted red licorice.
I wanted licorice pizza. Oh.
Oh,
All right, hold on. I've been going to the AMC theaters, and because you could pick your seat, and because I would go like on off hours, off peak hours, different days. It's like I felt relatively safe, because I was away from everybody, like not near, like, it wasn't like a packed house or anything like that. Now, I don't know if that makes any sense scientifically speaking. For all I know, you're just about as fucked whether you were in a packed house or not, as far as catching COVID and stuff like that. But this one, Licorice Pizza, was in this theater in Westwood, the Regency in Westwood. It's actually one of the two theaters that Margot Robbie's character. She plays Sharon Tate in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. When Sharon Tate goes to the movies, she goes to one of them just to look at what's playing there, and then she goes across the street to the other one. Those are one of those theaters. And that was a packed house. And that did kind of make me feel a little bit nervous. But everybody wore their mask. So, and so far so good. I COVID negative. So, I mean, it was worth it, I suppose. I don't know, but I'm not sure, especially right now with that Transformer sounding variant out there now. Maybe I might take it easy. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I think we might have Raven Shadow back. We'll see if this worked, but was able to troubleshoot a little bit. You there, Raven Shadow? You hear us?
He's moving.
I see you moving. All right, let me refresh your camera feed. Gotta have Raven Shadow back. He's moving.
Oh, and while you're doing that, this is the ass kissing thing I was going to point out. So I'm drinking. I figured just to get into the mood of the show, I'm drinking my coffee with a lot of bourbon in it, of course, from this New Beverly Cinema cup that has the Suspiria logo, I guess, on it. And they give that to they gave that to you if you made it through the all night Dario Argento film night or film festival, I guess.
Wow.
And I'm drinking that, and I'm putting the cup on top of this interesting looking coaster that I received one day. So yeah.
Awesome. All right, so Raven Shadow's kind of back, I think. I still can't get your camera on the live feed though, but I can see you moving. That's a good sign.
I don't see him moving. All I see him is looking really
he's
at his phone.
I see him.
Oh, now he's moving. There he is.
Oh, we got 2 of EF now. That's the wrong one though.
Well, it's absolutely the wrong one.
What's this? There we go. Yeah, Raven Shadow, you're back.
Yeah.
What is that dance?
Better than ever.
So
I got a freeze frame of Raven Shadow flipping us the double bird. Okay, now
he's moving. He's moving and grooving.
Yeah, I'm fucking EF strutting over here, baby.
EF strutting. All right.
EF.
All right. Enough technical difficulties. All right. So let's be done with them because I want to talk about some movies. I want to talk about some other stuff. One thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know, this isn't the kind of thing we would typically talk about on the show, but I checked out the first 2 episodes of The Beatles Get Back, and I'm really digging it. Did anyone else check it out yet?
No, I'm trying to. I'm sorry, EF. I know it was.
No. I was going to say that I've been meaning to watch it. Continue.
Go ahead, Raven Shadow.
I was, and I haven't, but I'd rather hear EF talk about it because he's smarter than me.
I haven't seen it, but I could go ahead and fake it. Oh my God, that part when John bitch slapped Paul and said, "If you ever want me to treat you like my first wife again, open your mouth again, motherfucker." That was a great part.
Wow. I didn't get there yet. It must be in part 3.
Yeah. They make you wait for it.
Evil Corny's checking in, and he says, I love Blood In, Blood Out too.
Yeah.
They made a sequel to it?
He says,
believe.
although he did say I like American Me a bit more, though.
So American Me and Blood In, Blood Out, they're both great films, but it really is like if you were going to watch a movie, like a World War II movie, it's like, well, or set, a film involving Nazis. It's like going, well, American Me is Schindler's List and Blood In, Blood Out is Inglourious Bastards. One of them is a lot more fun, but they're both excellent films. And of course, I'm talking about Schindler's List being the more fun movie.
It's MZ's favorite action-packed movie.
Oh, yeah.
But he's
Yeah.
And Evil Corny also says, I am an A-list member, and that's my strategy too, EF.
Yeah, I know that he goes to the movies because I listen to. I'm going to go ahead. Johnny's like, "Don't you dare!" But I'm going to promote another podcast Evil Corny has from the Canopy.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And they mentioned that, like, "Oh yeah, I went to the movies and I saw this, whatever."
So yeah, Corny is also an A-list member. I used to be an A-list member when I went to the theater, but I haven't been in almost 2 years now, I think. So. What else we got here? So I checked out Get Back, first 2 episodes, really digging it. I am a big Beatles fan anyway, so but I've heard some people who are not big Beatles fans that checked it out and liked it. And I've also heard some people say it's awfully self-indulgent, having an 8-hour special about the Beatles. But and MZ, you know who directed it, right?
Peter Jackson.
Yeah. So he's getting even further away from the Peter Jackson that you know and love.
Well, you know what? He could, he's doing this. He did that with the war footage from about a year and a half ago, World War II think it was World War II footage or World War I footage. I forget which. And he did that, but he said that now that that's done, he's going to start working on the Gru trilogy that he promised us like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So
he said that now that the Beatles is done and out, that was going to be his next thing, was working on the 4K transfers of those 3 films.
Oh, it's going to be amazing! I can't wait.
Wait, it's Bad Taste, Dead Alive, and Meet the Feebles?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not going to be he's not re-releasing holy shit, drawing a blank on the name, Kate Winslet movie, Heavenly Creatures.
Oh, Heavenly Creatures. No, that's not part of it.
So, but still, I mean, that's pretty fucking awesome that he's going to be putting those out. So, get some good transfers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Loaded with extras. And it's about time we get a decent Feebles transfer anyway. The only decent Feebles transfer you can ever get is off a Japanese Laserdisc. Every other videotape from Dead Alive Productions and all the DVD releases, those are just from really, really, really bad prints. And they're all from the same print, but it's a terrible, terrible, terrible print. You get there's like a few frames cut off from a couple of scenes, and the huge ass fucking cigarette burns, man. I mean, they're just gigantic in there. You can't avoid them.
Kind of like your balls.
Pretty much. Yeah, I can't wait for this set to come out. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so good.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we're going to get the completely 100% uncut version of Dead Alive, being brain dead.
Yeah,
there's like 101-minute version of it. So, and I've seen it, and it's more dialogue really than gore. There is a little bit extra gore, but it's mostly dialogue. But regardless, it'd be nice to have a 100% uncut print.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. That's Meet the Feebles is one of the few VHS that I kept, because that was like one of my most treasured tapes back in the day, was having the Feebles. And there really hasn't been I know you can get it on DVD, and but it's not that great. So honestly, VHS is probably just as good as the DVD. So until the Blu-ray comes out, that is.
Yeah. I mean, the only way you could get a decent print is on Japanese import Laserdisc.
Yeah.
And that's a nice, clean, pristine print.
Yep. So that's pretty exciting. So glad to see that that's going to be the next thing he's working on. But yeah, it's so weird. I mean, like, I feel like Peter Jackson now is going to make everything he does a 3-part fucking thing. Like, I wonder if that was like a joke where he was like, you know what, let's just make 3 parts. Like, it actually makes sense the way that it's spread out. The Beatles Get Back, but the second episode is like 2 hours and 56 minutes. Like, you think that maybe you would have broken them up a little bit more and have like 10 episodes of like, like, I don't know, like an hour and 15 minutes each or something like that. But no, you just went for the trilogy, went for the fucking, just like you did with The Hobbit, right? Broke it up into 3 movies. So kind of funny. Evil Corny says, "Whoa, you listen?" Talking to UEF, listen to Corny's podcast.
Not only do I listen, but maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but fuck it. I listen, but if Corny's not in the episode, I don't listen.
What do you think of
Look
that,
at that, Corny?
Wow.
Corny's got to put a feather in his cap now.
But no, they're over there. We're friends with that crew.
Yeah. Oh, then I take back what I said. I never said that. In case they're watching and listening to this. No. I listen to every single episode. even the what is it, bars or whatever they call, where it's about music, and I'm like, yeah, sure. I do not skip over those.
Speaking of other podcasts, Raven Shadow, did you do your appearance, your triumphant return on Friday night?
Yes, it was nice. Yeah, it was on Triumphant Return to Tales from the Podcast. two guys, one crip. There's always so many different shows. I forget what show I'm on, but no, I hung out with JB and Uncle Ron to talk about the fucking Star Wars holiday special.
And this was your first time seeing it.
First time watched. So it was Ollie, Marion, and I. We watched that on Friday prior to the show, and
I don't think
And
you
fuck-
had I don't think you had enough time to digest it.
it was hard. And maybe there was some emotionality. Like it was. I mean, I know it was discussed years ago, early on this show. But just the 15-minute Wookiee no subtitle scene, and I mean, everyone who's seen it knows how much of a train wreck it was,
That's
and I'm
lumpy,
definitely
man. That's fucking lumpy.
lumpy,
Don't you
gumpy,
don't you talk shit about lumpy?
bunky, the litter box.
Lumpy. How many times I gotta tell you? Litter box.
I mean, this definitely had like contractual obligations all over it. Like, I think this is what was that Harrison Ford's like, George, I fucking played ball. Kill me in the next fucking picture. Because even like early on, like he acted like Han. I saw it last week. Like he actually was doing his Han shit, and as they must have shot that first, because as the episode progressed, he got more disenfranchised. I don't know what was gone with Mark Hamill's hair. Was it a wig? He had like some weird Boy Meets World haircut in the beginning. Yeah, and I guess I gave it. They do like number ratings on their show. I did give it a 4, just for the nostalgia of seeing the band.
4 out of what?
4 out of 1,000.
Well, it could be.
4 out of 5.
No, like 10. I guess 10 would be the number, right?
You guess.
Just, I guess, yeah. You know, I mean, it's simple. It's one or the other. But I gave it that, just the nostalgia of seeing the band back together. And I haven't seen that group together since Jedi, because goddamn, they didn't give it to us in the fucking new movies. But I am struggling. I don't know why the whole picture took so long for Han and Chewie to fight the blockades, to drop them off, for the Han to go back home, but yet somehow everybody came back to Kashyyyk while they were having that weird druid ceremony with the Wookiees. I don't understand it. I don't know why. And I get they're legends. I don't know why you need to bring, Maude and Art Carney and things. But the old Super Friends roast in the 60s, like, I don't know. It was fucking weird. It was fucking weird. I know why it was only one.
Yeah, it's you should make a tradition. Watch it every year, Raven Shadow.
It's a fever dream.
It's something,
although
all right.
The animation was cool. The Boba Fett animation was cool. It looked very heavy metal.
Yeah. That's the first. I'm sure you know this, but that's Boba Fett's first appearance.
Correct.
Yeah, and also this special also showed scenes from Star Wars that wasn't seen until George Lucas did the recut of it in 1999 or 1997 it was.
Yeah.
So it was almost like 20 years after the fact.
Here's the
It was like
pre-special edition.
Well, there's a couple of scenes in the special that aren't in the final film of Star Wars. It's the original theatrical cut of it, but you do see them in the recut of the film, which is when you think back on it, it's kind of amazing. I mean, these are scenes that no one's seen, but yet if you're a diehard Star Wars fan, yeah, you have seen it. You just don't remember it.
Well,
okay.
MZ, you must be a diehard Star Wars fan then, because you've seen it about 40 times.
I love the holiday special. It's the best thing in the whole franchise. It's amazing.
What's that, Raven Shadow?
Well, couple takeaway things. I love the fact that, once again, this was before there was Star Wars was huge, right? It was a blockbuster picture, but there was no real mythology yet. You know what I mean? And I find it really interesting that Han and Chewie are out doing smuggler gangster shit, but yet he's a deadbeat dad who has, has a family and an old man he sees once a year. He's out partying with Han, which actually is funny too, because when Han decides to become a deadbeat dad and go out for a pack of smokes when he's sick of fucking Skywalker genes, he's like, you know what, Leia? You know what? That's not my side of the family. You got the dark side. Chewie, we're going out for smokes, and then you'll see him again.
Going out for smokes.
Yeah, like Han wanted to leave Leia and Kylo Ren so much, he left the fucking Falcon behind. Didn't give a fuck. He's like, you know what? Leia wants to find me as a beacon on it. Find me. I'm in Tatooine where your fucking brother is that you made out with 10 fucking times. Chewie, find the fucking freighter, hit the fucking bricks.
Hit the fucking bricks.
I'm sick of this fucking rebellion shit. What a bunch of assholes.
You should send a pitch to Kathleen Kennedy for a Star Wars movie, Raven Channel.
I'm working on that.
You working on it?
Yeah, Ollie and I are doing some writing tonight. We're gonna figure something out.
Man, you might get something out of it.
Yeah,
Could get a gig.
No.
Pack of smokes.
Pack of smokes, yeah. I'll give you a pack of smokes for your ideas.
Yeah, pack of hot dogs and a dirty muffin. There you go.
Dirty muffin. All right. Well, I think we should talk about some movies because I'm kind of curious to get some takes on these flicks. So let's see here. I guess I'll tell folks how they can support the show. So as I mentioned, this is a Patreon takeover, and EF spent his hard-earned money to help support the show, and he gets his own Patreon takeover. So this is EF's second one, and the first one was a huge success, and already this one's off to a great start, and we haven't even talked about the movies. So if you guys want your own Patreon takeover, if you want to get involved in the Monsterpiece Theater Movie Club, or also we have the Blackout tapes, both of which are coming in December. We're finalizing dates on those, but we'll have both of those coming up. And Raven Shadow's got a birthday coming up later this month. Sounds like a good time to celebrate, Raven Shadow.
Like where your head's at, John.
So we'll have some more information about that, and we also have the Discord. If you guys want to join and get access to all the channels, you can go ahead and support us. And you also get all of the episodes, the Patreon exclusive episodes. Speaking of which, we're recording the December one coming up this weekend, so that'll be up within a few days. And yeah, if you guys want to give it a look, patreon.com/trickortreatradio, and you can join for as little as $2 a month. So give that a look and help support the show, keep us going. And because who knows what's going to happen? Because in less than a month, we're down to 3 hosts. So who the fuck knows what's going to happen then? But yeah, so if you, by the way, if people hadn't heard the news, if they didn't listen last week, they're probably like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Yeah, MZ's leaving the show. MZ, you've had a week. You've had a week now. Did you get any messages? Anyone excited that you're leaving? Anyone mad? Anyone sad?
A lot of people can't wait for me to leave. Actually, that's not true. I have gotten a few messages, and and they're all supportive and saying that they're going to miss me, and I'm going to miss them. No question about it. So
the question I have for you: did Creepy Girl find out?
Yes, after much cajoling, I was like, "So have you heard the episode yet?" Because I knew she was going to be the one that was probably going to take it the roughest. And when she found out, and I was like, "Did you listen to the episode yet? Did you listen to the episode yet?" And she's like, "No, so far all you're doing is talking about your balls."
Yeah, why would you want to listen?
Yeah, right. So she finally heard the big news, and what are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. Actually, it wasn't anything really like that, but she was rather she came across as rather crestfallen over this whole thing. And
dude, I'm telling you, Where she live? NC, North Kakalaki, or something like that.
Think so. Yeah.
Fuck. Move to North Carolina. Don't go to Maine. Move to North Carolina. MZ, it's just you and me right now. No one else is hearing this. Do not move to Maine. Go to North Carolina.
Keep that in mind.
Yes, keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. But I told her, that my reasons for leaving and all this other stuff, and the fact that there really is no real reason, just it's time to move
He's
on.
just bored. He wants to get even more bored than he already is. So let's take the one thing out of my life that I enjoy and add more boredom.
But I've heard from Corny, I heard from JB, I've heard from Creepy Girl, I've heard from a few others, and it's appreciative. It's very appreciative, and I am thankful. And but it is time to move ahead and go forward and call it a day.
You mean go backwards?
or go backwards, or wherever time takes me. Who the hell knows?
Well, you're a 50-year-old man that looks like he's at least 30, so somehow time doesn't work correctly on you.
Well,
probably don't feel like a 30-year-old, but
well, that's because I take good care of myself.
That's the funniest thing I fucking heard all week. Yeah, because I take good care of myself. Look at this, as he's ripping into some Chips Ahoy right now.
Well, he's like one of those guys they interview who like turn 100, and they're like, "What's the secret?" And it's like, "Oh, I drink booze every day and I eat fried food every day." And it's like, there you go.
Yeah, there's no secret. Evil Corny says, "So is it true MZ is going to be thrown in a volcano? He wouldn't tell me. Did he watch Facts of Life?" Are you going to get thrown into a volcano?
I got to see that. I didn't know that. Corny and I were talking about that the other day, and it was like, I didn't even know that was going on. They had different strokes and the Facts of Life. And I'm like, son of a bitch, how come I didn't fanfare about this? But there was nothing. And but I saw some of the articles on it, and Lisa Welch, who plays Blair on the Facts of Life, looks incredible. I mean, they all look great, but I mean, Lisa Welch looks like she hasn't aged a day. It's ridiculous.
What are you talking about?
The Facts of Life.
They did another live showing of sitcoms with modern stars.
Oh, thank you, Aries. All right, good.
Yeah.
The language of love.
and there was some advertisement for it, but they didn't go over the top because it was the third one. So either people know about this or they don't at this point.
Well, when I saw the pictures of, because they were doing different strokes, that they had John Lithgow playing Mr. Drummond and Kevin Hart playing Arnold Jackson. I didn't know what I thought that was like a. I know it's funny, right?
What the fuck?
I thought it was an SNL skit. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea that was what Courtney and I have been talking about. I didn't make the connection. Then when I saw the picture again, I read the article. I'm like, oh, holy shit, that's funny. I gotta see that because there's a picture.
Yeah, you definitely need to see it, whether you're a fan of these shows or not. They are amazing. This one in particular, Kevin Hart, unbelievably hysterical, nails Arnold Drummond. I couldn't even believe it.
Kevin Hart's dressed up in the Arnold Jackson Super Arnold superhero costume, and he's sitting on John Lithgow's lap.
What the fuck?
Just the visual of that is hysterical enough.
I just looked it up. Kudos to both of them, because that's good.
Oh my god. Did they do the bicycle shop episode?
I wish they did. That would have been amazing.
They could have got Kevin Spacey to play the bicycle shot back.
Shit. Boys for a comeback. That could be it.
Yeah, you should just lean into it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's time we have to talk with our friend Mr. Horton. Arnold?
Corny says I had the same reaction watching it. God damn. So, anyways, we're talking about ways you can support the show. You can support us by watching the fucking revival. I don't even know what to call it. But so yeah, check out patreon.com/trickortreatradio. Also, you can head to trickortreatradio.com and scroll down. You're going to see an Amazon logo. You click that. It's going to bring you to Amazon. It's going to input our affiliate link. Everything that they purchase in that session, Raven Shadow, will get attributed to us. It doesn't cost them any extra, though.
But it's another way to help us help you with more content and more extravagance and ways to further your entertainment. Isn't that right?
Do you like that, Aries?
I'm sorry, I nodded off during that.
Wow.
Ow. Okay. It's okay.
Oh, God.
So there you go. Finally, you can go to trickortreatradio.com, click on store, and there you're going to see we have the greatest hits of Trick or Treat Radio Volumes 1 through 3. We've been doing the show, as I mentioned, in the past for over 9 years, coming up on 10 years. Well, in a few months anyways. And you know, we don't expect everyone to have gone back and listened to every single episode. So if you don't want to, you want to get like a little sampling of the previous years, you can check out the greatest hits. They got the highlights, the lowlights, the midlights. We got the songs. We got the arguments. We got some interviews and everything else in between. So give that a look if you're curious. I want to kind of hear some of the older stuff. All right. Well, that's all the ways you can help support the show. But one way that you can help support the show, Michael Ravenshadow, is to tell folks what you did to prepare for this double feature. You had to watch 2 films that were made, one before you were born and one just after you were born. So what did you do to prepare for this double feature, Ravenshadow, for this Patreon takeover?
I guess I'm confused, Johnny, because how is that going to help support the show by telling them?
Well, you're helping to support this episode by moving things along. Do you know?
EF, is that what he said? EF, I don't think he's.
I think he's trying to say it's another way to keep the lights on.
There we go.
I wish I could control your lights, Raven Shadow, because I would just fucking turn them off.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, Aries is ready to put all our lights out.
He did have to watch a movie with subtitles this week, EF.
Oh, I know. Well, I figure, again, I want to stay on Aries' good side.
It's not how you do it.
Raven Shadow, please be my guest. Continue.
Thank you. I will be your guest, Johnny. Thank you. I was sad. I was sad, Johnny. I was fucking sad. I'm gonna say it right here, right fucking now. I learned of the comic fans know this name.
Oh yeah.
My 2 favorite artists, in no particular order, have always been John Byrne with inks by Terry Austin and George Perez with inks by Romeo Tengel. And the news came out that unfortunately this living legend, George Perez, co-creator of New Teen Titans, worked for Marvel, DC, JLA, Avengers. You fucking know his work because you've seen it on the big screen during the MCU. George Perez has been diagnosed, I believe, with pancreatic cancer. Unfortunately, he's been given 6 to 9 months to live.
Yep.
But he's going to continue on surviving and swinging. Still be doing as much as he can at the time he has.
Wait,
but,
I don't mean to. This is really bad of me, but are you saying that George Perez is a swinger?
well, might as well fuck it, right? It's like, honey, listen, I got. Can I fuck you, please? I'm George motherfucking Perez.
That is true. I mean, it probably would work, right?
Yeah, it's like, listen, baby, listen. I designed Nightwing's first costume.
I am a comic A-lister. I should be able to have whoever I want.
I demand the best seat in the hospice.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
This is lime jello. I want cherry jello.
Nothing is sacred. Last week it was Christopher Reeve. This week
Put my ashes on the popcorn for the AMC A-listers.
this week it's George Perez. Oh man.
God.
Nothing matters anymore, Johnny. You have to understand that. Nothing matters anymore.
That is true.
You're right. Yeah, nothing matters anymore. I'm glad to see the part of fucking Monster Zero and be played by fucking Johnny Wolfenstein moving forward.
Well, hey, I got to learn from the best.
Yeah. Jim Cricket. So I guess with all this beautiful eulogy of a fucking in the industry, and fuck it. George Perez, do what you want to do, man. Get some girls, strap on.
You go through your week with the same old routine.
What you really want is some blood and thunder in your life.
Well, friend, you found it.
The Cromcast is an adventurous journey through the history of two-fisted pulp stories
With your hosts, John,
Josh,
and Luke.
we have action.
horror.
An adventure, all through the lens of pulp luminary Robert E. Howard.
Don't just stay in your ordinary life.
Find your pulp life at thecromcast.blogspot.com.
The Cromcast,
The Cromcast.
The Cromcast.
a podcast for the barbarian at heart.
This is Matt Kennedy of Astron 6. You might know me as Manborg. You might know me as Father John Sullivan in Father's Day. But what's important right now is that you're listening to Trick or Treat Radio.
Oh, delicious nerds. Ms. M knows you like to chat it up with other sexy shut-ins about comics, movies, video games, and your favorite TV shows. If that sounds like you, cuddle up to the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook group, or the FIB. That stands for Fan Interaction Board. Just go to Facebook and search for Trick or Treat Radio and have more fun than a Jedi at a lightsaber sale. Not enough? Watch us on YouTube, The Deadites TV, all one word. Last but not least, check out the world's most dangerous talk radio show, Trick or Treat Radio, at trickortreatradio.com.
I can tell you I'm never coming back on this show. Especially now that I did that thing that you just made me do. Which I will be sending you an invoice for.
We're back on Trick or Treat Radio. And it's time for our first film discussion for this Patreon takeover. And we are going to start with Hasta el viento tiene miedo. Even the Wind is Afraid. This movie from 1968 is 88 minutes. It is directed by Carlos Enrique Taboada. I'm probably going to butcher all of these names, so my apologies. It stars Marga Lopez, Mary Cruz Olivier, Alicia Bonet, Norma Lazzarino, Renata Seidel, Elizabeth Duperon, and Enrique Garcia Alvarez as Dr. Oliver. The synopsis: girls that were punished to stay at a boarding school during spring break have no idea the school is haunted by the restless spirit of a former student seeking revenge. And this is a drama horror mystery, and as I mentioned, from 1968. And this film is in Spanish, so it is subtitled, and it has been remade as well, apparently. So, but first, before we get too deep into it, I want to go ahead and cut to our boy EF Contentment to find out why he picked Even the Wind is Afraid for us to discuss tonight.
So this movie, I watched it before in the during the total radical '80s. I watched it on Mexican television, and I remember digging it. And it was one of those movies, and I'm sure all of you have those movies that you watch on TV. You've seen it once or whatever, and it kind of sticks in your head over the years. And I think it wasn't until like the '90s that I started hearing other people mention that movie. To me, it just seemed like this obscure movie that I watched one night. And I started hearing more and more about it. And I found out over the years that it's actually this well-regarded film in Mexican cinema, particularly in the horror genre. And it actually kind of like helped reignite the genre back in the late 60s. So I've been meaning to rewatch it. And it was one of those movies that it was on my back burner for all these years to rewatch it. And I was looking for like a good copy of it, and it came out on DVD, and I still didn't get around to it. Then it came out on Blu-ray, and I was going to watch it during October. And again, it just slipped my mind. There were other movies. And then Johnny Wolfenstein comes a call in saying, hey, you got any movies? And I was like, oh, perfect opportunity to finally rewatch this movie and possibly introduce it to people who haven't heard of it before. But yeah.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, I hadn't even heard of this film before, so I'm glad that it was on my radar. It did get a release in the U.S. in 2020 on Blu-ray, so I thought that was kind of cool that it recently got a release here. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it was the first official release in the U.S., but yeah, it was first released in theaters in Mexico in 1968. And just kind of reading a little bit here about it, it is, I guess, doesn't say when. I guess, doesn't say when this was, but Vulture listed the movie as one of their recommendations for Mexican horror, writing that what we hear in the tension built through the ambience, the eponymous wind in particular, rings more affecting than what's actually shown on screen. And Comics Beat praised the film for its acting, character development, and ambience. And let's see, there's another, I guess a Spanish newspaper called Marca. It says Marca covered Hasta el viento tiene miedo for the film's 50th anniversary in 2018, noting its cult status. Spoke with actress Norma Lazzarino, who stated that the movie was ahead of its time. She further commented that the director conspired with technicians to play tricks on the actresses so they would become unnerved during filming, which she credits as enhancing the movie's tension and fear factor. So just some thoughts there about that. And it's interesting because I would not be surprised if this film was inspired other stuff that came after it, because when I was watching this, I will say that there was some elements of this that I thought really would have benefited from maybe a better director or something like that. I'm not saying the director is bad, but I'm watching it through the lens of someone who's watching a movie in 2021 for a film that, that was made almost 50, over 50 years ago. So for me, looking at it, like, I kind of wish that there was like more close-ups or more editing, because that's sort of like my mindset now, because I've seen a lot of new films. But back in 1968, that wasn't really, as much the style. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, other films that were made in 1968, I guess we could go with the one that comes to mind for me is 2001. That was 68, right? Or am I mixing that up?
No, 68.
Yeah, that was 68. So, I mean, but it's really difficult to compare Kubrick to anyone else in that time frame. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, looking at it through the 2021 lens, I feel like there were some opportunities to even amp up the tension a little bit more. But I do have to give credit to the director and for what they were able to achieve at this time. And it supposedly was, as you mentioned, revitalized the Mexican horror genre. So this was kind of a landmark film, at least in Mexico. And, I think that it is probably culturally more important to Mexico than it may be to America in terms of like what we had in cinema. But I will say that while I will say that there's some opportunities here in which I could see this being improved upon, I also think that they're kind of spot on with a lot of the ambience, like the wind. I love the part that the wind played in this. I thought that was like such a great aspect of this. And, I think that there's also some really other cool aspects of this that I didn't see coming. I guess we'll talk about it, and we don't have to really watch out for spoilers. I mean, the movie, as I mentioned, is came out in 1968, so we can kind of just run with it. But I guess we'll start with you, EF. And since you had rewatched this, did you notice anything different this time around that really stood out to you? As watching it with a modern eye for cinema, did anything stand out to you now as opposed to the first time you saw it?
What I found that stood out for me this time compared to last time was I appreciated the character interactions more this time. While I did feel it didn't hold up as much as far as being a scary movie. So it's weird. So the balance shifted over the years. Whereas when I was a kid, I was like, this is kind of a creepy movie, kind of scary, and this other stuff is kind of boring. And now it kind of went the other way where I was more into the character stuff. I thought that stuff worked out a lot more compared to the scary stuff. But I think it's like you said. Okay, so there are two kinds of classic films, I feel. And there are the classic films that remain timeless. You mentioned 2001, and that is definitely one of those where it's like that's one of my all-time favorite movies, by the way. And I watched that movie, and that to me is just as strong as I'm sure it was back in 68. Like, that movie has not aged.
Right.
And then there are the other classic movies are the ones that they lose power as far as what they originally were intended to be. Maybe they're dated in one way or the other, but they're still good, but you appreciate them for what they did at the time. You see what I'm saying? So like, there's some classic movies you watch that you're like, okay, I get it. Back then, this really like flipped people's wig,
Yeah, no, you're totally right, because, and as I'm sure you've heard me mention, 2001 Space Odyssey is probably my favorite movie of all time. And it is absolutely timeless. Like, I watched it in IMAX, I want to say like 3 years ago. I've seen it in theaters a few times now, but I got to see it in IMAX, and I was just blown away again by how fucking beautiful it is and how amazing it looks. And, that's not something you could say for a lot of films that were made in 1968. So yeah, there are films, and that's why it's unfair to compare, this film to 2001, even though they're completely different films. They were just made in the same year. But you're right. I think there is those timeless films, and there's also the ones that were, that you can appreciate because of what they were able to achieve at that time. Like, you do have to look through it through a different lens and go back and say, okay, yes, this may not be one of those timeless films, but it is one of those films that I can go back and look at and be like, oh man, yeah, I can totally see what they were going for. And in '68, this must have had a huge impact on people because like there's nothing else. Like we don't have the thousands upon thousands of hundreds of thousands of horror movies that came after it to compare it to. So I think that's sort of a good way to differentiate them. I am interested in the resident gorehound MZ to get his take on this film because MZ, you like, I mean, not gonna sugarcoat it. You like some bad movies. You like some Italian movies that maybe aren't great plot wise, but are beautiful to look at. You like a lot of European cinema. You just love horror in general. So where did this kind of sit for you, and how were you viewing it? Were you viewing it as someone watching a film, kind of looking at it and saying, "Oh, like look at this film they made, all these years ago"?
Well, I didn't know what to expect in a film like this. I mean, the title, is rather ambiguous. You don't really know what the hell that means. But I was all interested just the same. When you brought up the Wind as a character in this movie, and I couldn't agree more. In fact, I would not be a bit surprised if Argento took a couple cues out of this.
Yeah.
Because when I saw the way it was shot, with the wind, exterior shots, wind blowing around, leaves are flying around all over the place. It just reminded me so much of the exterior night scenes in Phenomena.
Yeah.
Where you get the jet black sky, the wind is blowing around. This is taking place in Switzerland. And, you get the leaves rustling around. And so when I saw that, my mind went right to Phenomena. Another film that I thought was that was in Argento's library is Suspiria.
Yeah.
Where it takes place in a girls' school, regardless of what they're being taught, and the head mistress, I guess you could say, is a bit of a pain in the ass, much like Suspiria, where not so much Miss Tanner, but or no, Miss Tanner. Yeah, wait, is it Miss Tanner? I'm trying to think.
I don't remember.
Alita Valley's character in Suspiria. I think that's Miss Tanner, who's a bit of a by the rule book. You do what I say. This is how we do it. My rules, that sort of thing. So. It kind of takes on that as well. I thought the and I'm going to also piggyback on what you mentioned earlier about how and EF's of what he said, that it's a you appreciate it for what it was back in the time that it was made, but when you watch it years later, or for the first time, like we did, you can learn to appreciate some of the things that they did back then. But then you notice certain things that lend itself to become like a timeless, not so much timeless. I don't want to say that, but a forgotten classic, like trying to think of the words to use here.
You mean just like a film?
I was
just gonna say, just like a film that wasn't appreciated until later.
Well, I just think the director, had an idea of what he was doing, but maybe little nuances that he put in there that we as a modern audience can notice nowadays that they couldn't notice back then. Or maybe it's just sheer coincidence. I don't know.
All right. How about Aries? Aries, this is a subtitled movie. You're pissed at EF.
Yeah, oh yeah. And even as far as subtitles movies go, this was particularly bad because those subtitles were not up for very long.
Yeah.
So that even was doubly annoying for me. But and also to pick on you a little more with what you were saying, you were throwing out classic, comparing this movie and 2001. I think you're just kind of throwing out classic too willy nilly. Just because something's old doesn't mean it's classic.
Did I call it classic?
No.
Oh,
EF.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
You were just kind of throwing out classic there, kind of just in general. Just because something's old doesn't mean it's classic. And you were
No,
saying,
I absolutely agree with you. I'm just saying, though, in terms of at least in Mexican cinema, it is very well regarded. I didn't mean it because it's old. I meant it because actually, at least in Mexico, it's very well regarded. And I get it if like you don't agree with that, but like I'm just clarifying that that's what I meant.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
In case you don't realize, I like to pick on people and jump on them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can't see his hands. He's probably like salivating. He's like, "Oh, someone new to argue."
Oh
with.
no, but like that's very fair. It's like, and I'm definitely someone who like I'm very careful to not just throw words out. I have to mean what I say. So when I say something like that, when I say a movie's a classic, I mean classic as in it's very well regarded, very well reviewed. I don't just go like, oh, because it's 1947. It's classic. It's like, no, it's old.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? I mean, partially it's my fault. I'm kind of, very tunnel vision right now as I'm looking at this. As far as American cinema, I wasn't thinking even towards the Mexican cinema, the aspect of
no, but no problem.
But as far because like I said, I've never seen this movie before. I didn't know what I was getting into watching this. This movie brought me back to watching a lot of old movies, and I did enjoy that. The camera shots, the music that was playing, it really brought me back. I was not watching this like mentally comparing it to modern movies. I was comparing this to other movies that came out, in the 60s and early 70s. And a lot of the problems I would have with this movie are based around that. And a lot of the problems I have are minor things. You guys keep on mentioning the wind as a character. I do agree with that. I don't like how they always just either it was wind or it was no wind. There was no in between. It was just, and there was a lot of that aspect. It was just either on or off. It didn't seem to have fading for a lot of different aspects in this movie. And I think a lot of that was probably because of inexperienced director.
Yeah, and it could be. I mean, I'm actually curious. I'm going to look up the director's filmography and see what else he had worked on prior to this. But while I'm doing that, how about you, Raven Shadow? What when you were watching this, did it? What was kind of the feeling you got? Were you looking back and kind of looking at a film from 1968 and able to kind of view through that lens, or what was your impression?
No, definitely. It definitely reminded me of being a child in Mexico back in 1960. It reminded me. That's how I felt. No. I mean, I definitely got, while it's not in my main, wheelhouse, a giallo vibe to it. And it's funny the Facts of Life talk comes around full circle again, because it seemed like definitely like the Mexican version of like Peekskill of the girls from Facts of Life. Like the headmistress was like an evil fucking Mrs. Garrett running amok. I loved how all their hair was perfect at nighttime, and everyone was all totally put together. No matter what time of night it was, what time of day it was, everyone was perfectly coiffed. And I thought it had a great fucking opening intro.
Oh yeah, the intro was great. Yeah, it was great.
I mean, right there, the rain, the waking up with the figure of a hanged person in a bedroom screams. Yeah.
And that was actually the trailer too. I watched the trailer, and one of the trailers I saw was just that intro, and that was it, which I thought was great.
Pretty good fucking hook, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
So just looking at the director's filmography, he had done a few things. Well, he's written a shitload of movies. Hold on, let me look at directing. Yeah, he did did 3 movies prior to Even the Wind is Afraid. And afterwards, he's worked pretty consistently throughout the 70s, and in the 80s, he only did 3 movies. But one of them he did in 1986 looks like it's pretty highly regarded, a film called Poison for the Fairies. And it looks like it's pretty well reviewed. So that wasn't his last film that he directed, but it was one of his last films and the last one was 1989. Since then, he has looks like he's been writing. He's written some screenplays and some TV and stuff like that. All Spanish speaking stuff. But so he'd had 3 films under his belt before this. So and kind of diving a little bit deeper into this, there were moments in this where I won't say it was bored per se, but like I feel like they weren't moving the story along well enough at times. I did like the characters, though. Generally, I like the characters, and I like the interplay between them. They're all fairly well fleshed out. Like, I actually got a good sense of who all the characters were. And that's, like, not super easy to do in this when you have, like, there was, like, 7 or 8 girls, and they don't all have that much screen time to really get their sort of story across. But I felt like they did a pretty good job of doing that here. It did have kind of a gothic feel to it as well. And I liked that sort of tower where a lot of the action in the film was centered around. And I thought the story was actually pretty cool. Like I liked that there was this character who, basically committed suicide years ago and was looking to try to get revenge at the headmaster or the whatever that character's name was. Bernarda was the sort
Miss
of
Bernarda.
Yep. And so I did enjoy that, and I actually thought the last act of this was really good. That's when, for me, it really picked up, when there was a kind of a twist when Claudia died, basically, where she fell. And, when that happened, I feel like it really kind of picked up the pace and really hit a good stride. I think up until then, there was some stutters along the way. But I think, and there's a little bit too much of like samey, like, she's wandering out at night, going to the tower, and, there's a lot of stuff that seemed like a lot of it was just kind of happening. But I thought that there was some smart writing in this, and even to the point when Claudia was sort of like possessed by, what's the character's name? Andrea? Yeah, by Andrea. And, even some of the information that only Andrea would have had, as she talked to the other teacher, Lucia, was that the assistant? I thought some of that stuff was cool too. Like they didn't really hold your hand in terms of of trying to tell you what had happened, but it was like very easy enough to understand. Like, oh well, I know that Bernarda kept you from having your boyfriend, for whatever. And she's like, how do you know about that? So little touches like that I thought were actually pretty well written in there. And I did think that things really changed when Claudia, fell from the top of that tower and was possessed by Andrea. And, I thought that's really when it picked up for me. And I thought that was cool. I even like the scene with the bird, as hard as that, as something like that is hard to watch for me. I thought that was a great little scene in showing, just sort of showing, not telling what's going on with Claudia. So I thought that was a nice scene. I did think some of the stuff with the groundskeeper, Diego.
Oh, you mean Mexican groundskeeper Willie?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, he's trying to take his shirt off? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Some of that he was the only character I thought that was like a MacGuffin, like like it seemed a little forced for him, and also the doctor at the end when he when he comes to check on Lucia at the end. I just thought that was like really silly. He's like, "Oh, so everything okay?" Like, and then I know I just thought that was really kind of a little bit too much. But other than that, I thought that there was some really great atmosphere and ambience in this, and as I mentioned, I think some of it kind of lost me a little bit in the first two acts, but the third really picked up for me. And I think it paid off some of the stuff that happened earlier. So yeah, for me, I think generally this worked. It might be hard recommend for certain audiences, but for fans of like, I would kind of consider this like gothic horror in a sense. And yeah, I think there are elements, MZ, of like even Suspiria, right? Like with the school, the all girls school. Like, it's not a dance studio, but I think there was some similarities there, and overall, I just think it had kind of a cool vibe to it, and had a kind of just this underlying creepy feel to it, even though there wasn't a lot of like straight up horror in it. And I think that there was also some good scenes when they showed Andrea, in the top of the tower, and then also kind of at a distance when the wind is blowing, seeing her silhouette in the darkness, I thought was also kind of cool. So yeah, I think they did some solid things, and overall, I think that it was pretty solid movie, despite some missteps here and there.
The first two acts, yeah, they feel kind of stymied a bit, like they didn't know what they wanted to do as far as progressing the story along. So what they do is that they just add in filler material, and you don't have to look any farther than watching the Santo films to know that Mexican filmmaking, especially back in the day, consisted of a few high spots here and there.
Literally.
Literally, yes. But it's also surrounded by moments of just lulled boredom, and they just don't know what to do. There's nothing even really exciting that progresses that doesn't even have to progress the story along. Just have them doing something fun or exciting, or I mean, now granted, I understand that the girls here are under detention, and their chances for fun are kind of limited to practically nothing, to the point where one of them starts doing probably the most unerotic striptease I've seen.
I was waiting to see how long it would take.
Since Chesty Morgan did it in Deadly Weapons, and that one's a travesty. But yeah, that was pretty bad.
But I do have to say, if you're going to pad out the movie, you do it with women dancing in their underwear, even if they look old enough to be your mom. Just go, yeah.
I gotta go to Ravenshaw on that scene.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, like it was definitely fucking weird. Like, so, like, I have a lot of questions about just the school itself, let alone the supernatural machinations in the tower. Like, is this a prep school or is it a school for bad girls?
I didn't get the sense it was a school for bad girls.
No, it's a boarding school. It's a prep school.
Yeah, because they're under detention because they I think they failed their test or something like that. They weren't allowed to go on vacation. There was like a 10-day vacation period that the rest of the school got to go to, but these 6 or 7 girls had to stay behind.
But no, because the reason they did that. So that's the thing. So like, I thought because maybe the headmistress was such a battle axe Bauer that maybe in that sitcom. But when we see that it was Claudia who was obviously getting possessed, and the tower was calling her with the unlocked, and all the other girls followed her in to it. Which on one hand, I'm like, fine, if you're gonna sneak into a joint, close the fucking door. and close the door. You have like
Okay, for that alone, that should tell you that they aren't criminals because they don't have the common sense to try to hide what they're doing.
you close the door, right?
I'm telling you, they're not smart enough to do that. They're not criminals.
That's why they got pinched because the fucking door.
Yes, but that answers your question.
Oh. All right.
They are good girls. They don't know how to hide criminal acts.
All right. So that it wasn't a overall like it wasn't like the Sean Penn Bad Boys School. Okay, fine. Still close the fucking door. So they get pinched early on, and they get don't get all upset. Don't get all.
I'm sorry. Either you agree with me, or you don't. Don't say you agree with me and then go, yeah, but they're fucking wrong.
No, I agree with you. I was piggybacking on what you were saying.
I'm saying, but you know what? If they close the door, then there's no movie. Because then they don't get caught and then they go home.
That's part of the idiot plot.
All right, true. But still, fine. So then moving forward, they get pinched. And as we find out, there's that one girl who has no home to go to. So she's kind of like
Josephina. Yeah.
Josephina.
Oh, yeah.
So she's like the fucking, like the resident narc. And so once again, when to test the waters, because we know the headmistress has some suspicions that this clique is doing something kind of wicked. They're going to arrange to, number one, so the evil Picard and and good Riker are going to leave the school for a while, and they leave Josephine in charge to kind of like speak to whatever they're planning. And they turn on her, and there's a very weird scene where they kind of force her to like, oh, you know what? You're naked now. Let's do a striptease. Fuck. And the other one, what was it? Was it Kitty?
Kitty, yeah.
Because right, yeah, Kitty, who had her photo stolen. Which once again, when her photo was stolen by the headmistress, if her plans, you're right, they are not bad girls, Aries, because you can't have your photo taken by the headmistress and then rob it the next day. We know you're the suspect. Right?
Yeah.
It's missing. So like, give it some time at least. But yeah, so they kind of awkwardly try to pull one girl's clothes off so that way she can't tell on them, and then she does this very weird, and like maybe it's because 68 and they didn't have,
Well, that I think that kind of just adds more to what type of girls they are, because she was claiming that she is an expert striptease, and she's I mean, these are probably high school girls. She's probably never actually seen a striptease, so it just kind of just shows, she's desperate to be the bad girl of these good girls, and that is her poor attempt at a striptease.
The striptease scene was very awkward for a few minutes. Like, just how, like, it's funny how the other girls were, like, so put off by it, and it just was so awkward the whole way it just kind of went down.
Yeah.
But I thought the end was, like, worth it. Like, how that scene ended was, like, totally worth the awkward setup.
I really liked how some of the girls, like during that striptease, because I guess she's more experienced, but their response is like, "No, Kitty, don't."
Yeah.
And then like another one's like, "No, Kitty, no." But my favorite reaction was, I forget which one. I think it was Claudia who goes, "Don't be cynical, Kitty."
Yeah.
And then you got the resident narc who's there with her mouth wide open the entire time. She's like sitting on the couch.
Yeah,
and honestly, I feel at least a couple of those girls had an awakening during that moment that they were not aware, feelings that they weren't aware of until that moment. So there's a little bit of confusion mixed in with that shock. I
think Yvette was one of them. The blonde who looks like Blair Warner. Her. But the one thing it's just nitpick, but it's a rather essential one. Is that it's never explained why Claudia is the chosen one. It just happens out of the blue. There's no explanation to it at all whatsoever.
Wait, was she not in the room of Andrea? Did she stay in her room? I thought.
All the girls stayed in her room.
Yeah, they didn't know Andrea though.
Yeah, and they all bunked in the same room. So, but it's never
was a dream, is what
why,
you're talking about, Raven Shadow.
Yeah, none of them knew Andrea.
It's just never explained why Claudia is the chosen one in all this.
It doesn't really matter. I mean,
I think it's just a why not.
Yeah.
I don't think it really matters, but at the same time, to me it did. But I mean, at the same time, this is just simple filmmaking with a simple story. Don't have to explain everything, but like you were saying earlier, Raven, I was just gonna say, like you were saying, Wolfie, the 2021 film mind in me, would like to know why she was chosen, even though it doesn't really matter.
I think she was probably the most vulnerable, or maybe there's just something about her. Like to me, it made sense. I didn't think about why did she choose her? It just seemed to make sense. I feel like she may have been the most vulnerable, or the one who is most susceptible to being possessed. So that's kind of
or more receptive.
Yeah, or that. Yeah,
I like that she kind of got supernatural powers. Like she knew all the answers to the test.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah,
could play.
Well, it's because the other girl knew the answers. So she didn't have superpowers.
Andrea
knew the answers.
Yeah.
Because she had a good memory.
Yeah, she was smart compared to Claudia, which wasn't.
Well, I like getting powers that way.
So you just need to become someone else.
Yeah.
You want smart powers, Raven Shadow?
Yeah. I want to be like Bradley Cooper in that movie with the pills.
With the pills.
Actually, wait. You know what? They explained how she got her powers. She went to the fucking library.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's like a video store, right? But
she got those powers by dying. There you go.
Yeah. I'm fucking trying, man.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to add about this?
I mean, I have plenty I could add, but I don't want to take up the show either.
No.
I think it was just, I'm trying to think of it was already referenced, the striptease scene was the one part that I wanted to bring up. The fact, so watching it with modern eyes, I did see a lot more flaws this time. And I do agree. I think Johnny kind of mentioned it, where it's like, today, those issues would have been fixed. They would have been answered to. They would have they wouldn't have those flaws, But it's one of those things where, like in 1968, hey, look, we got the story, we told it well, but like all these other things we don't have to worry about. But nowadays, it's like, if this same exact movie was made today, you would definitely be a harsher judge on it. One thing I got out of it this time was, and I found out over the years that Guillermo del Toro is actually a big fan of the movie. It's one of his favorite ghost stories, he said. And watching it today, with today's eyes, I'm like, oh yeah, I could see it. I could see a lot of where the guy who made The Devil's Backbone in particular was influenced by this movie. Crimson Peak would probably be another one. But I see a lot of that. I also see the villain in this movie kind of reminded me of a Del Toro villain in general, where the villain could be really cruel, and yet there's enough humanity put into that character, which actually makes that character even more disturbing in a way. I'm thinking more of I'm blanking out on his name, but The Shape of Water, the actor in that film. And I saw a lot of that in Miss Bernarda, where she is capable of showing kindness in terms of how she relates to Josephina.
Michael Shannon?
Michael Shannon. Thank you. Yeah, there we go. The bourbon has hit really hard at this point, guys. It won out over the coffee in the battle for balance.
Yeah.
But no. The Michael Shannon character, who ultimately is just this shitheel, but they give you enough in The Shape of Water of that character to be like, okay, well, it makes sense though, you know? And in the case of Bernarda, I think I feel that way, the same way. Where the way she is with Josefina, where I feel like that's it. Like she's genuinely kind to that character. That's why she makes her a narc and everything like that. But I don't think it's just purely like, oh, I could use her to be a narc for all these other students. It's like, no, I think she actually likes her. And there's enough in there to hint at like maybe she relates to her or whatever. Yep. Anyway, I'm just rambling here, but basically like these are the things that I picked up on. Mostly the Del Toro, the influence on Del Toro's work is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. And actually it's funny. I didn't think of that at the time, but you know, I'm a huge fan of Guillermo del Toro, but when you mentioned Devil's Backbone, I could absolutely see that. I could see that this might have been an influence for him. And it's funny because when I looked this movie up, a recent interview with Guillermo del Toro showed up in my YouTube search when I looked up the trailer, and I started to watch it. It was like his top 10. I think it was like Collider or one of those sites did a like interview with him. He talked about the 10 films that influenced Nightmare Alley. And I didn't get a chance to finish the video, but I had wondered if he was going to call this one out because, you know, it showed up when I did a search for the movie. So I wonder if that was part of it. But yeah, I could totally see that. And I could see for a young aspiring filmmaker watching this in the 70s or 80s being like, holy shit, like this is so cool, I want to do this, you know. So I could totally see that watching this in, you know, when this was sort of, you know, still fairly new, and catching that and really being kind of inspired by that. I could completely understand that. So that's pretty cool, and it makes sense that he would be inspired by it. So cool. I'd actually wondered if there was some, when you had picked these two movies, I wondered if there was like a connection. I was trying to like figure out if there was a connection between these two movies, and I couldn't figure it out. So I figured there probably wasn't. But I guess when we talk about Silent Partner, we'll figure out if there was any connection or if it's just kind of two different films to pick.
Two different films to pick. I'll just tell you that ahead of time. But there is a story behind why. Well, you already know the story about why I picked this one, but you'll see the story. You'll find out the story right now about Silent Partner.
Okay, cool. All right, so I think we could probably start to wrap this one up and head to the verdict and find out what everyone thought. So let's do that.
Trick or treat, baby.
I wonder if people would say you're a trick or a treat.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
All right, it is verdict time. We're going to let you know whether Even the Wind is Afraid is a trick or a treat. And any final thoughts we may have. Let's kick it off with EF.
So this is, like I said earlier, this is one of those classic films that might be seen as dated to the point of being ineffective. And I can understand why they'd see it that way. But I still feel that what this might lack in scares, it's more than made up for in atmosphere, ambience, and the entertaining interactions between the characters. So while maybe I wouldn't recommend this to casual viewers, as far as horror and film buffs are concerned, this is absolutely a treat.
All right. Treat for EF. How about Monster Zero?
Yeah, I got to echo what EF said. The atmosphere in this film is just, it strangles you. You feel it. You smell it. You know, it's very in your face, particularly during the nighttime scenes. It's just very, very strong. And like you said before, the interaction with the girls, it's entertaining. At times it does lull into boredom. But given the situation that these girls are in, I guess that would make some sort of sense. and it's not the greatest. Well, it's not the greatest made film in the world, but it's by far not the worst. It's got good set design. It's got, if I remember, I think the score was actually pretty decent too. Performances are fairly good, not perfect, but there's enough meat on the bone here where, and again, I'll echo what EF said uh, about film buffs and horror fans, hardcore horror fans, who want to take in a study of old Mexican horror films from the 60s, 70s, 50s, whatever. This is a good one. This is a real good one. It's got a fairly good story, and yeah, I would say that this is a treat. I enjoyed this.
All right. How about Aries?
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this movie. If you like a classic movie and you can appreciate what happens in the classic movies, you're gonna appreciate this movie. There's the classic score that you get in a lot of these old suspenseful movies. The lighting, the camera angles, it's all there. This movie does. There's a little bit of problems with some of the sound editing, in my opinion. They missed some of their marks, and it was a little jarring for me. But all in all, this is a decent enough movie. If you can sit through fast subtitles and check this movie out, this movie is a treat.
All right, Raven Shadow.
You know, it's funny. Watching this with Mary the other day, and we're like, "There's got to be some reason why EF picked this." Happen. Like we were waiting for like a Tarantino like end scene, like gore fest, witches duel going on. I don't know what the fuck was gonna happen. But honestly, like much like the Star Wars Holiday Special, you have to view this from its time. You can't watch the special with a Mandalorian lens, and maybe this is a movie you can't watch with a modern, 2021 lens. But I can definitely see where this would have inspired people. And truly, I found myself enjoying the interactions of the characters, just being in a shitty school. Less about the supernatural machinations. I thought it was beautifully shot. The colors were great. The scenes are really good. Great set pieces. Love the tower. Love the hair. Love the bouffants.
And the striptease.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've seen a lot of striptease, dude. Just saying. But no, I gotta say, like, I'm really intrigued by what this would have inspired, because it definitely did. And I did enjoy this overall, man. So I think this is definitely a treat, man. And once again, it may not be a invite your buddies over, get some beers and watch it, but like, I think it's worth a watch if you're into this kind of ghost story genre. Check it out.
All right.
It's on Tubi.
Yeah, it's on Tubi. There you go. And for me, I'm kind of gonna agree with a lot of what you guys said. I think that looking at this through the lens of, looking at it as, okay, this is a film that came out in '68. How does this hold up now, looking at it through those eyes? I think that I can see how this influenced Guillermo del Toro. I can see how it influenced some other filmmakers, and how it could be perceived as like a cult classic in Mexican cinema. And, it's cool that it did get a release here in the U.S. on Blu-ray. I'd actually really like to check that copy out and see how good that looks. But yeah, I think that this does a lot well. There are some missteps, of course, but once again, looking through that lens, I can kind of forgive them, because Mexican cinema in 1968 probably was a very different place than like cinema is nowadays. And I feel like this would have benefited from additional tension by having more close-ups and more cuts and edits. But I did kind of enjoy that it kind of let things linger for a little bit as well. So I can see the benefits on both sides here. So, but yeah, I'm going to say that this is a treat. As I mentioned, there are some missteps, but ultimately, I think that for what it was doing, without having a lot of films as as influence, I think that it did a good job, and I think it told a good story, and I really did enjoy the ending. I thought that it was pretty solid. So yeah, this is will be a treat for me as well. There you go, EF. All treats, man. All around. Treats all around. So, all right. Well, we're going to just jump right into the next movie. Raven Shadow decided it was time for his break anyways. So, let's jump into the next one. And we're going to start talking about The Silent Partner. Now, this film here is from 1978, so 10 years later. And this is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was a Canadian production.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. Canadian production. And the film is directed by Daryl Duke. And it is, screenplay was written by Curtis Hanson based on the novel Think of a Number by Anders Baldeson. And the film stars Elliot Gould, Christopher Plummer, Susanna York, Celine Lomez, Michael Kirby, Sean Sullivan, Ken Pogue, Gail Doms Bonine, and a very young John Candy.
Almost.
And what?
And almost felt.
Almost, yeah. When I first saw him, I'm like, I did a double take. I'm like, is that? I'm like, holy shit.
See, I caught the name in the beginning. He appeared in the opening credits, so I was expecting a lot more of him in the movie.
You know what? It's funny. I didn't even notice in the credits apparently because it was a surprise when I saw him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he'd been in a few things prior to this. Maybe like he had about 10 or so credits to his name. But yeah, this is definitely one of his early film roles, I think. It was before SCTV, or at least, sorry, it wasn't before. It was during the run of SCTV. So there's that. But and then and then Blues Brothers in 1980, and then he started to kind of blow up from there. Although I'm reminded that he was did several voices of in the animated film Heavy Metal as well. I remember that. So yeah, so John Candy is in this, and the synopsis for this one: a timid bank teller anticipates a bank robbery and steals the money himself before the crook arrives. When the sadistic crook realizes he's been fooled, he tracks down the teller and engages him in a cat and mouse chase for the cash. And I didn't mention it, but this is a crime drama thriller. I'm not familiar with the director, Daryl Duke, but it looks like he's got a pretty good filmography to his name. Let's see if there's anything I might recognize.
Just a second. And that's why I hate Michael Ravenshadow, because he's a piece of garbage. Oh, he's back. Okay. Yeah, he's a piece of garbage, this Ravenshadow. No, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Continue, sir.
What's funny, I've heard that a lot lately. But no, Ollie was running amok. I had to go through it.
Well, it's nice of you to tell our guest.
Yeah.
It's one thing not to tell the listeners, but not to tell the guests. That's a completely separate thing.
I wanted to say it before during my my wrap up, but like he's boxed, he's yelling. Go deal with that.
Or to even apologize when you return that you had to leave.
So I apologize. I'm back.
I apologize.
You apologize that you're back.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Johnny. I just had to take advantage, but you were continue on. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
You were talking about what Daryl Duke has directed.
Yeah, nothing I recognize.
Yeah, he was mostly a TV guy.
Yeah.
Occasionally he would do a film. I think the last theatrical film he did was an adaptation of James Clavell's Taipan back in the early 80s with Brian Brown. Dino De Laurentiis production. He did, if I could just jump in and like recommend another movie from this director. He made a movie a few years before this one called Payday with Rip Torn.
Oh.
Great film. it's this character study where Rip Torn plays this like like he's permanently like below the big time country singer. Just this real shit kicking asshole, like redneck asshole who's on a road trip doing like a tour. And clearly some of the stories the stuff that happens with this character in the movie are based on like real stories of probably like guys like George Jones, and possibly Hank Williams Jr. and guys like that. I highly recommend that movie just for a great Rip Torn performance where he's just this drunken asshole. But anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
Oh man. So let's see. I think I read all the info. Yeah. So, Silent Partner from 1978. So, EF, if you would, explain what your reasoning was behind picking this one.
That's right, EF. Explain yourself.
Explain
son
yourself.
Of a bitch. No. All right. So, okay. I originally had another movie in mind. And I was really close to pulling the trigger on this movie. But I watched it first. So when I first heard, and I'll tell you the name of the movie, so don't think like I'm just going to lead you guys on. When I first heard about this other movie, I only knew the synopsis, like a quick one-line synopsis. And I said, hey, maybe this might work for Trick or Treat Radio because it's like it sounds like a genre film, and but like with a sort of social political bent to it. To me, it sounded like a siege movie. And I'm like, all right, cool. So this is like Assault on Precinct 13, except it's the 1% versus the 99%. And this would have actually hurt more for Aries. This was another Mexican film with subtitles, but this was a fairly new film from 2020, I want to say. But I watched the film, and I still was considering going with this film because it would probably make good conversation. But then there was the now mythical argument between Raven Shadow and Aries about having a bad week. And it was during that where I believe it was revealed that Aries has had to deal with like at least one suicide at his job. And I started thinking about that. I started thinking about this movie, which is a very unpleasant, very grim, very nihilistic movie. And then I remembered a couple weeks ago, I think Aries said something like, it's not the subtitles that bug me so much right now. It's the fact that I have to cram jam 2 movies a week and I barely have the time to watch them or something like that. And I was like, do I really want to inflict this fucking movie on a guy who barely has time to watch them? Like, it's like, this is free time and it's a stressful job or whatever. And then I'm going to throw this like just really harsh movie, like that's going to make you feel like shit, made me feel like shit. It was a really well-made movie. And I decided not to. And the movie, by the way, is called New Order or Nuevo Orden from 2020. Because when I watched it, it wasn't the movie that I thought it was going to be. It was actually like this harsher, it's just not a fun movie, but it's a well-made movie. And I decided, you know what? No. So instead, we'll go with the movie that I was planning to watch anyway, because I watch it generally like every other December, because I'm the kind of guy who considers Die Hard a Christmas movie. So I consider this a Christmas movie. In fact, I went to see this at the New Beverly Cinema at a double feature of this movie with Die Hard on Christmas Eve. So anyway, that's why I picked the Silent Partner.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so I'm actually glad that you picked this one because once again, I hadn't seen this. Have any of you guys heard of or seen this?
Nope.
Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, real quick. I forgot one important fucking thing here. So I make this decision like, oh, let's go for this movie that isn't as much of a bummer. And then I rewatch Hasta el Viento Tiene Miedo, where in the first scene, a fucking girl hangs herself. Fucking douchebag, you stupid motherfucker. I still failed. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So setup to this one is pretty simple. We have Elliot Gould, who is playing the character of Miles Cullen. And he's as it mentions in the synopsis, a timid bank teller. And he, you can tell he kind of has this crush on one of his coworkers. Trying to remember, I forget the character's name now. Is it Julie?
Julie.
Yeah, Julie is the one he had the crush on, and but turns out that she's basically the mistress to like one of the other coworkers, as he finds out. But he ends up getting to spend some time with her and stuff like that, and they kind of hit it off. And but anyways, he finds a note in the trash. Or as he's cleaning up, he finds like a note kind of crinkled up, and in it basically says, "I have a gun, give me all your money," or something along those lines. And so somebody had come in, was going to hand this to a teller, but then probably decided not to and threw it away. So
no. Well, I feel it's necessary to point this out. This was on the second sheet of a carbon paper.
True.
Right.
Yep.
So the note was written out and taken out of the bank, and the carbon copy was actually what was left behind of a second sheet. So the criminal had no idea he actually left the note behind.
Okay, and that's a good. Yeah, you're right. That's a good call out to bring up. So, yeah, so there was that, and as he's kind of like staring at it, he was kind of about to tell some of his coworkers. He decided against it, and for whatever reason, and then as he's walking through the mall, he sees a Santa who's holding up a sign, and the Santa sign, the G was the same G that was in the note that he found. And it was a very sort of like, it's kind of an interesting flourish. It's not everyone writes their G's like that. So, he gets the idea that, okay, well, this must be the guy. And so he gets the idea that this Santa Claus character is going to come in and rip off the bank, because he sees him come in another time, and then some kid approaches him and he's like, Santa, Santa. And then, so he decides not to go through with it. And then, so he's anticipating this. It's kind of this interesting concept where Elliot Gould's character of Miles is anticipating this robbery. And so he kind of comes up with this plan that if he gets robbed, he found a system in which he could put money aside and then take it and then just basically claim that it was all stolen. And, so it's this, way for him to get some money and not be suspicious, I guess, or suspected as doing what he did. So it's kind of interesting setup. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a story told like this. So and then the Santa character is a character named Reichel, who's played by Christopher Plummer, who is fucking awesome in this. Rachel, go ahead. You're clapping.
How fucking handsome is Christopher Plummer in this?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
yeah, look at him now. Well, I started to correct myself.
He's looked better.
Yes. I know that he died earlier this year, but what I mean is, look at what he looked like before he passed, and in comparison, like he was a fucking handsome dude, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm like, I mean, not saying he was never like, an attractive man, but I know him most from fucking Dragnet.
Yeah.
From ahead of Pagan, People Against Normalcy and Good. People Against Goodness and Normalcy. They believe in bad sex and good drugs. Still of a good democracy. I'm with that. But goddamn, he was like fucking Sting meets TV's not Dexter, fucking Anthony Hopkins.
Hannibal Lecter.
Thank you. Yeah. He was like Sting meets Hannibal Lecter, made for TV. Lecter.
WCW Sting.
WCW. Yeah, he was kind of like Pro meets that dude.
He looked. Yeah, he looked. He looked good, but goddamn, I mean, I don't know if he was out tanning or they threw so much makeup on him, but goddamn, that guy was glowing in the dark.
Oh man, in gold.
I mean, really, look at him. I mean, he's basically orange. You know, it's frightening to look at just how much makeup he has on, almost to the point where he looks like he's like wearing eyeliner or something like that. It's really bizarre.
I think part of that is intentional, by the way. But continue. I'm sorry.
I was just going to get to that. I think it was, I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah. Christopher Plummer was he was riveting. He was like who is it? In Nighthawks, is it Rutger Hauer?
Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking
He had that kind of mentality going with him.
Yeah.
He had that kind of mentality going with him. That kind of ferociousness about him. It was very magnetic.
Yeah, he so I'll say like when business started to pick up in this, so after the robbery went down, and so we have Elliot Gould's character of Cullen. He triggers. He actually, I don't know if he intentionally did it, but he triggered the alarm. I guess when he pulls out the $100 bill, like there's it triggers an alarm, and so the alarm went off, and then the police showed up, and then there was like a little bit of a shootout with Christopher Plummer's character Reichel, and so shortly after this, they interview Cullen on the news, and he says, "Yeah, this is how much was taken." He says like $48,000 some odd dollars, and then Reichel is like, "What the fuck? I didn't get that. I didn't get all that money." Like, where this dude's fucking lying. He must have taken some, and so he sort of gets the cut of his jib and kind of understands what's going on, and then he starts like fucking with him. He starts calling him, and then from literally right outside his apartment from the payphone, and he finds out information about him. And I thought that's when things really started to pick up. I thought the tension in this was fucking off the charts. And from that moment, and I feel like almost like in a sense, this had like an Uncut Gems kind of feel for me in terms of like, I fucking love Uncut Gems, but the tension that in that movie was so fucking palpable. It was insane. Have you seen Uncut Gems, EF?
Yes. I'm sorry. Continue. I have a little thing about that, but I'll just say this real quick, without spoiling Uncut Gems for people.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that in the theater, and there's something that happens at the end of the movie, and I found myself spontaneously clapping.
Oh, like I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. We're like, and in fact, the lady next to me who was with her date said out loud, like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I was in a completely different place in regards to this character, as I'm sure everybody else is." But continue. I'm sorry.
No. I think that's pretty fucking hilarious. But that's a movie that I've watched recently that I feel like the tension was just like so visceral and palpable. Like you could feel it. And in this movie, I think did a really good job. I'm not going to say I like this as much as Uncut Gems, but for me, this did a really good job of ratcheting up that tension, where it just got to a point where this guy, like, I wouldn't say he became reckless, but he almost felt like he was invincible, to the point where he was just so, like, at any moment this could fall apart so fucking quick. And like each step along the way, it was able to pick up steam and pick up more steam. And it was like, holy fucking shit. Like, he's getting away with this, and the tension is just off the charts. So that's the first thing for me, like right off the top, that I thought this film did exceptionally well. And on top of that, the performances. I mean, Plummer was fucking great, and Elliot Gould also I thought was great in this too.
Well, plus, I mean, Miles was getting cocky. I mean,
yeah, he was.
It's regardless, I think the words still ring true. Pride comes before the fall. And he had this in to kind of circumvent, the bad guys, or he's smarter than everybody else, and maybe not so much. maybe you shouldn't play certain games. Much like the girls from the previous movie, close the fucking door. You'd close the fucking door. Maybe not play cat and mouse with a guy who's, a bad man.
Right. How about you, MZ?
I thought Elliot Gould was amazing in this movie. He's always been a good, versatile actor. From everything from a film like this to like American History X, he was good in that, even though he had a small role. To his sitcom days when he did ER. He's always just been a really good, solid actor, and he puts in a fucking amazing performance here, a believable performance, a John Q. Anybody performance. It's he's believable, he's real, he's raw. He finds himself in a situation where he can score some cash. Because, when you look at where he's living, it's not, the greatest of places. It's not so much the place. It's just, it's a pretty rundown little apartment that he's living in. It's not the Shangri-La.
He's got a big fucking fish tank. He's got probably a waterbed, probably. I'm not sure. We didn't really see it too much.
He does love his fish.
He's got a fish.
Yes, he does.
And it is Toronto, which is funny.
Yes, it is Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah.
And yeah, with him with Plummer, that was just. It was just like in the description. It's just a cat and mouse game. Who's going to outsmart who better? It was just very, very solid storytelling. Performances are very, very solid as well from everybody. The only little bit that I had a problem with was, and this was just to advance the story along, it's very slight, was the maid. When I saw that, when I saw that, when you see the apartment that he's living in, and here he is, he has a maid cleaning up his place. I found, and thus, advancing the story about the keys, I just found that a little bit unbelievable. It just didn't connect with me. A place that looks the way it does, and he's got the money to hire a maid to vacuum up his rugs and clean his place up. So I found that to be a little bit forced. Outside of that,
I'd be pissed if someone threw away my jelly.
Right?
And if I could jump, I think when you live in Canada and you don't have to spend money on health insurance, you could afford to throw it away on maids for your shitty apartment.
Right?
That's true.
Well, I got two things with that. I didn't think the apartment was that bad. It just seemed like an average apartment for the 70s.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot of extravagance back then. You had a TV, had a fish tank. That's pretty much it. There wasn't a lot going on. And also, he is a bachelor. Back then, the women did the cooking and cleaning. He didn't have a woman, so he had to hire one.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And before people jump down my throat, I wasn't making a sexist statement. That's the way people viewed it in the 70s.
Oh no, let me jump in and say that's the way life should be.
Oh, she said AF.
No. Aries, hold on. Let me make it clear for everybody listening. Aries does not agree with what I'm about to say. The opinions of EF Contentment are not shared with Aries, God of War. Okay, they call it the good old days for a reason.
Oh. I gotta prove something to everyone right here. Look at this. I have a broom within arm's reach because I clean.
Yes, and also another thing to prove, Aries, is show your wedding ring while I show my hands with no ring, as I will die alone because of these opinions.
Also, to be fair, Aries, that broom should be all black with a spike on it. Come on, dude. It should have a bayonet.
It's my pink broom.
It's fine.
Why? Suddenly it's fine.
No, I'll
got a
show you.
pink broom.
I'll show you my.
Hello Kitty.
I'll get my fucking broom.
It's okay. I mean, that broom belongs to Athena. You know, that's Ares' wife. So it's like, yeah, why not?
No, this is a hand me down. The missus got done with this broom. She bought herself a new one, so I stole it for the workshop here.
By the way, first time Mike just popped in. He says, "Evening, family. What's up, EF? Late visit tonight."
Well, hello, first time Mike.
What's up, first time Mike? Glad to have you aboard, hanging out. So who, Aries? Did you? I don't think you commented on this yet.
Yeah, the movie was very well shot, well acted. The cat and mouse game was very on point for not only a movie made in the 70s, for a movie made now.
Yeah.
This kept you guessing. I mean, someone like me who likes to figure out movies and does a lot of times, I was guessing throughout this whole movie. Every time I thought I had it figured out, it would go a different direction.
Yeah, I agree. I was super impressed with how they kept the viewer guessing and didn't know where it was going to go next. And there was some Reichel, Christopher Plummer's character was a fucking bastard. There's that scene in the beginning when he like basically kills that woman. Like, did he kill her?
Yeah. No, he just hurt her really bad.
Yeah, like it looked like he was gonna kill her. Like that was a little. It was like, whoa, dude. Like,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you don't see that in movies anymore, and that's probably a good thing.
Good thing, but I think it makes sense in this movie because that's one of them. There's a second act of violence from Christopher Plummer's character that it's weird. Like, on the one hand, I'm like, that's too fucking much, man. You know, like, even like, I don't know how many times it's been that since how many viewings this is for me, but it still gets to me. But it's necessary. And as far as showing the audience the kind of person that Elliot Gould's character is up against, who he decided to basically fuck with.
Yeah.
Does it involve glass?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you know, I did love that scene, but the opening, the first act of brutality, I thought was 100% necessary just to show what type of person he is, because without that, he is just a pleasant, charming person who would be making empty threats. Like, we know what he's capable of, but Elliot Gould does not. He just seems like a very nice person who's just kind of throwing out threats. So he doesn't know enough to take him seriously.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
Like Elliot Gould is essentially the fucking dude with the beard doing coke and Die Hard. Thinking that
yeah, that's actually really good.
Like, thinking that he can figure out Hans Gruber. Like,
Right.
listen, baby, we'll make a deal here. You know, do a couple of bips. You know what I mean, and figure it out. But yeah, no. You can't fuck with Hans Gruber, and you can't fuck with fucking Plummer.
Michael.
Yeah. Bad times.
You know what I thought was interesting was that second act of violence that Reichel commits. I found out later that was actually in the original cut of the movie. It wasn't so bad, without giving it away. And the director refused to shoot that. He delivered his cut and he was like, no, I'm not going to film that. And he left the project. And so it was the screenwriter, Curtis Hanson, who shot that extra moment.
Oh, wow.
So originally it was a bit more like tame. It was just, what happens, but it certainly wasn't that bad. It was just, okay, that character has been dispatched and that's it. But I thought that was interesting. But I do feel it actually does work for the film because, again, it just further communicates to the audience almost like Gould really has no idea how bad it can get. When that guy says, it's not an empty threat, when he says, there's this great scene earlier in the film where like it's through the letterbox of his door, like the mailbox.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just Christopher Plummer's eyes. And he basically says, it's like, one day you're going to see me inside of your apartment. And that's the day that you'll wish you never were born or something like that. And it's not an empty threat. When you see what he's capable of, it's like he means it. And that just enhances the tension.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great scene too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the glass scene is a little little over the top, but I do think it is effective for the character of Reichel. So I'm actually, glad that was included in there because it's pretty fucking, especially, the when L.A. Gould comes back to his apartment and sees what happened, it's pretty shocking. I would say that this is almost, it's not a horror movie per se. It's definitely more of a thriller, but this has some pretty decent horror elements in it. Like it really keeps you on your toes, and there is, a fair amount of, well, I wouldn't say a fair amount, but there's enough gore to keep gorehounds happy, I would say.
And even I think some of it too, like, was it fair to say that glass scene, much like the air scene in Dogs, a lot of it is the imagination too. Like, it wasn't overly gratuitous.
No, it wasn't.
But you got enough where you're like, what the fuck?
I saw this when I saw it at the double feature with Die Hard. People actually audibly gasped or shouted at that moment.
Yeah.
Which, so it definitely still works even today,
Wait, which scene is this?
Well, without giving too much of it away, it's the scene involving Reichel and a fish tank and another unfortunate person.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
People in the audience when I went to see it in the theater audibly reacted to that moment.
Yeah. I know which one you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. But it's just I think it's just a great I mean, cat and mouse is really the best way to describe it. You don't really know where it's going to head, as Aries said, and it's very clear that one guy is sort of playing the I wouldn't even really say hero role, but there's someone that's playing the villainous role, and then there's someone who's playing the victim role, I guess, in a sense. But but he's not really the victim. He's an active participant in this crime, and he knows what he's doing, but he was trying to pawn it off on the criminal to get away with it. So I think it's a really interesting dynamic. And, I think because he was so timid, I think it really works. And you get a sense that Cullen, Elliot Gould's character, really kind of gets some confidence about himself when all this goes down. And I mean, I think someone said earlier that he gets cocky, and he does, because he's confident. He feels like he pulled this off. He can, he's on top of the fucking world. He's Superman, whatever analogy you want to use. And that's, I think, really kind of what ends up being kind of his downfall, I guess, in a sense,
And then he's even he's having the confidence to talk to beautiful lovelies too, whether it's the girl on the or his coworker, and even though there may have been some machinations involved in that scene, where he goes to the girl, he's like, we have to live in the now and not worry about tomorrow. And he kisses that girl.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Can I call you?" No, I'm and the situation he was covering up went away. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll call you sometime."
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you were in fucking Jerry Lynn for a minute and you fucking fucked up.
But that is also a great moment of unintentional negging that works in his favor. It's just chicks stick jerks. That only made her more wow. She says to him something like, "I don't get you, man," or something like that. But at the same time, she's even more intrigued.
Yeah.
Right. The bad boy shoot digs, man.
Yeah. And it's funny that, he keeps the money in a Superman lunchbox, and meanwhile he's working with Superman's mom. I think Susanna York, I think is this actress, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, she was Lara in one, right?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I knew she looked familiar, but she's blonde in this. But yeah, no shit. And it's funny, I know Elliot Gould's great. He's definitely a legend. The three things that my most recent memory are his run in the Ocean's 11 pictures. I I thought he was great as the dad in The Big Hit. I'm one of the
Yes. No. Hold on. Okay, so let's digress into The Big Hit real quick. Thank you, Raven Shadow, for ruining the show via me. No, but just so Raven Shadow knows my bona fides here. I love that character that Elliot Gould plays in The Big Hit because he's basically this pushover husband and father who, when he gets drunk, lets it all out. And it's hilarious. I'm sorry. Continue.
His turn as I think Monica's dad in the Friends program. But yeah, like those are my most recent memories of Elliot Gould. But thank you. Yeah, we're gonna fucking talk about blood in, blood out all the time.
Here's
all the time.
Sir. The thing is,
message me seriously,
Michael Raven Shadow. You and I station our conveyance in the exact ports. Let me put it that way. Is it acceptable if I said it that way?
That's sexy, dude. I like
instead
instead
of saying the way the Raven Shadow says it.
Right. It doesn't have this connotation to it. Little visual for the viewers.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely pleasantly surprised by this, and I can't really say I've seen. I've seen enough of Christopher Plummer in films, but I don't know that I've seen him play this kind of role. I don't like. Maybe you guys have seen him in other roles like this, but it was pretty cool seeing him play like this kind of character. Can you guys think of any other performances in which he was kind of a bastard like this?
I can't think of anything where he was this sadistic, but the kind of temperament, I've seen him play that before. That's why it wasn't that. That's why I appreciate the showing what he will do, not just having him talk, because that wasn't that out of the norm for me.
Yeah. How about anyone else?
I can't think of a role that would match this, as far as his the intensity that he brings to this role, and under the guise that he does it to, dressed up as a Santa, getting ready to rob a bank, pistol in hand, ready to kill if he needs to, so he precedes the whole idea of a killer Santa from Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah, true.
And it's a pretty awesome performance, really.
And the interesting thing is, I guess, EF, you said you saw this a double feature with Die Hard, right?
Yes.
So I guess in a sense, I mean, this is a Christmas movie, like Die Hard would be, right?
Yeah, it's for about an hour and 45-minute runtime. It takes place during the Christmas season. And I am one of those weirdos that can actually Die Hard is my favorite Christmas movie. So that's where I'm coming from.
Oh man. Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I guess talking like about the technical aspects of this, I know I talked a little bit about Even the Wind is Afraid, how some of the technical aspects didn't really work for me because it was kind of an older film. But I think everything in this is really spot on. I think the direction is really good. The way it was shot, even the editing, like everything about this is just a really good film. Like it just really nails everything, I think.
You have some real ringers in the crew because it's like I said, Daryl Duke, the director, he's actually a good director of TV stuff, but he made a couple good films as well.
Yeah.
The cinematographer was Billy Williams, who shot, I think he won an Academy Award for Gandhi a few years later, but he also shot the opening Iraq sequences in The Exorcist. So definitely a dude who knows what he's doing, who knows, as far as how to shoot a scene effectively. The writer of the movie, Curtis Hanson, you might not be familiar with his name, but he went on to direct L.A. Confidential and 8 Mile.
Yeah.
So he's won Academy Awards. He also did The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. I think most importantly, though, he did direct Losing It with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
That was actually That was his first movie. But he
First
went on to
movie.
like write and direct some really well-regarded films, you know, mostly in the suspense genre. So it makes sense. You know, it's just kind of like, oh yeah. So you see like it's a mixture of old pros and young up-and-comers delivering something very effective, I feel.
Well, we didn't even talk about John fucking Candy.
Oh, well, this is well, I haven't figured out if this is a prequel to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles or Summer Rental. So
Nice pull.
poor John Candy getting cucked. I mean, he's just getting, you know, that's what okay. Your opinion, guys. Was that kid? That's not his kid, right?
Oh, no.
That's okay. I just, yeah, I'm sorry. But poor John Candy. Because at first you're like, oh, good for him, you know, like this blonde hottie who wears these, by the way, very 1970s shirts that say bankers do it with interest.
Yeah.
And penalty for early withdrawal. First of all, just that workplace is very 70s because I think that one coworker, the shithead who ends up sleeping with her, even says he mentioned some like lady's breasts, like straight up, like in front of the boss or something.
Yeah.
It's just,
we're
again, going back to my theory about the good old days. But anyway, when women cleaned houses, as they should, but
Oh, boy.
I nothing matters anymore. Guys. But anyway, I have nothing to lose. No one listens to the podcast. What am I going to do? Cancel me? I'm sorry. But anyway, go ahead, guys. I'm just being an asshole for the sake of being an asshole.
And it also, it's a very 70s film because of just look at the amount of trust that a bank ensures to the people who come in. No bulletproof windows, no bulletproof glass, just straight out in the open. Nothing to stop any bullets or any attacks or any like that of any kind. I got to tell you guys, that when it comes to films from, there's something. Let me put it this way: there's something about film stock from 1978, specifically 1978. Maybe a little 79. There's something about the film stock used during that time, regardless of the genre, comedy, horror, sci-fi, action, drama, romance, whatever. There's an underlying eeriness about the film stock used in this point in time, where even the daytime scenes feel dark, and the nighttime scenes are even more ominous than that. I can never put my finger on as to why, but I've always felt this way. Something about film stock from 1978 just gets to me. And this movie did that. I mean, not only because of the film stock, but also it's a very good movie. It's a very well-made movie. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, I agree with you. I think it's just the 70s in general. I'm sorry.
Oh no, MC, when was the last time you went to a mall bank and there was bulletproof glass? Even now.
I don't recall ever going to a mall bank to begin with. But that's beside the point.
I miss malls.
You miss malls?
Yeah, who really goes to the mall anymore, right?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been there, but 5 years ago, the bank in the mall didn't have bulletproof glass. The bank I go to uptown doesn't have bulletproof glass. We don't live in a major city.
Although, to be fair, I did go into a bank in Rome, and when you go through the revolving doors, there was a very large gentleman with a beret and AK-47.
Well, Raven Shadow, those malls are controlled by the mafia. You know that. Come on.
Allegedly. Yeah. Allegedly.
Oh, I'm pro-mafia. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Someone's got to take care of the scum on the streets, and it's not going to be the cops.
Doing the garbage.
Yeah.
Now, as a side note, EF, you wouldn't be able to comment on this, but you guys, did you get a feel that Toronto was like very much like Worcester?
Oh, I did. I mean, EF's never been here, but
yeah, that's why EF can't comment. But I don't like really. I was just like, I kept on going like in my head, I'm like, I know that place, even though I've never been to Toronto. You know, it's just really just felt like Worcester.
That's fucking. And having been to Toronto, it's literally like, it's like going to like Fenway. If you go to the stadium, it's totally the rides. Yeah, it's just like here, 30.
Well, in that mall, I guess reminded me a little bit of the old Galleria.
The Galleria. There was
Yeah.
a shot of a
Yeah.
church, which seemed like a church in Worcester, and just some of the streets. I don't know. Just I was just wondering if I was alone in that feeling.
I didn't think
Well-
it, but now that you mention it, I totally agree with you.
I just want to thank Aries because with that question, when he said, "Oh, EF couldn't like relate to this," I thought I was waiting for it to be like, so like the many women that you've slept with, you know what I mean? Something like that. EF can't relate to that. I mean, listen to how he talks. He talks like a friggin' Reddit incel. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Oh, shit. All right. Well, I think we could probably head to verdict on this one. So let's go ahead and do that.
Trick or treat, baby.
I wonder if people would say you're a trick or a treat.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
All right. It is verdict time. We're going to let you know whether the silent partner was a trick or a treat. Any final thoughts? Once again, let's kick it off with EF.
Oh, okay. If you like 1970s style cat and mouse thrillers, but more importantly, if you like Christmas movies that aren't really Christmas movies, or watching John Candy get cucked, or Christopher Plummer giving head to Elliot Gould, do I have a movie for you? It's called The Silent Partner, and it is a treat.
Oh, man. All right, MZ.
Yeah, this is intense. It's got everything, man. It's got intensity. It's got romance. It's got a little bit of comedy involved, and it's got John Candy. What a story! It's real. I can't believe I've never seen this before, because this is just really a fantastic movie. It's very well paced, intricately well paced, and superbly acted by everybody involved. It's not scary. It's just intense, and I rank it up there with Nighthawks. It's on that level. It's really that good. I would say definitely check this out. This is a definite treat.
All right. Aries.
Yeah, there's definitely a whole lot to like about this movie. If you're not a fan of 70s cat and mouse movies, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you. This is the movie to become a fan too. Like, give it a shot, check it out, because there's so much going on in this movie. The one flaw in this movie is that they have John Candy, and they don't have him do anything funny. Like, you have a comedy genius, and he's just there.
He's a cuck.
But beyond that, no fucking John Candy be a cuck. You have John Candy because he's fucking John Candy. But other than that, check this movie out. This movie is a treat.
That might be a contender for episode title. John Candy is a cuck.
No, don't do that, sir.
No,
please.
I'm just kidding.
In respect to the great man's memory.
Well,
I should have ever even said that word.
Well, we've already
don't do
defaced George Perez and Christopher Plummer and Christopher Reeve last week. So,
But that's okay. This is John Candy.
Yeah,
Don't
true.
do it
All right.
wrong.
All right, fine. All right, Raven Shadow, what's your verdict?
No, man. Like, once again, the 70s aesthetic. I love seeing this shit. I mean, they don't make them like this anymore because they made them back then. I'm not saying this is like a Friends of Eddie Coyle type thing, but it's just a great way to like see an undiscovered gem, if you will, of something that maybe we missed the first time around. This wasn't on cable all the time. It wasn't something that was always on, in heavy rotation, but it was definitely cool to see. Um, definitely enjoyed it. Um, yeah, and I can see where it maybe inspired other things. Like so now Christopher, I almost said Lambert, Plummer, in his drag sequence. Anyone kind of think of a little bit of Heath Ledger in his nurse outfit going to the?
I can see that.
I
didn't think of it, but yeah.
I'm not saying it's a like comparison, but like I could definitely see this is a picture that maybe somebody saw and tried to not ape, but tried to be inspired by. So yeah, man, if you love 70s banking hijinks with nefarious criminals, chain smoking, fishes, horrible glass scenes, and a little bit of nudity.
Yeah, you like that 70s nudity, huh?
Oh, it was definitely 70s nudity. Let's not get it twisted. This was set,
great.
This was set in of our times. But no, man, definitely a 70s treatment. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh man. Yeah, for me, yeah, this is definitely a treat. I thought this was great. And as I mentioned, even just for me, Uncut Gems is one of my favorite movies over the last few years, and for me to even like mention it in the same sentence is that's a big deal. And I loved just the tension that they built in this, the performances. It just was overall just a really fucking fun movie, and it was like really tense, well acted, well directed. So yeah, this is a big treat for me. I really love The Silent Partner, and I'm super glad that EF introduced it to us, because otherwise I would have been in the dark and wouldn't have known anything about this. So I was just looking at the trivia on IMDb. I just want to read one thing real quick. Apparently, Elliot Gould held a private screening for Alfred Hitchcock, who apparently loved this movie. So
yeah, he mentions that on the Blu-ray.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, it's confirmed. He says that he tells a story about that. He also mentions that he originally wanted Mick Jagger to play Christopher Plummer's role, but he feels Plummer did a way better job than Jagger could have, because I think he was friends with Mick Jagger, so it was just an idea of like, oh yeah, let me get my friend in this movie.
Yeah, but Jagger showed him, so there you go.
And apparently the film was nominated for several Canadian Film Awards and won 6: Best Feature Film, Best Director, Best Editing, Best Musical Score, Best Sound Editing, and Best Overall Sound. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, but this is great. I think this is one of those, like, I do feel that this is kind of a timeless movie. As we talked about with Even the Wind is Afraid, that one sort of feels dated, but this one feels like it could work, and it feels timeless. Like, it feels like one of those films. Like, I mean, you can tell it was made in the 70s just by the clothes and the aesthetic and the houses in the mall and things like that. So it is very much dated in that sense, but I also feel like it just kind of, you can watch it now and don't really think of the time period. It could be like it could have been made more recently and been like, made to look like it was in the 70s. So yeah, super glad we watched this, and once again, treats all around. EF, you're 10 for 10.
I'm glad it worked out this time.
Even though there's subtitles, Aries didn't play against the film. So yeah, awesome. So that is gonna wrap up our film discussion, and let me pull out next week's programming. So next week, we're getting back to the regular December double feature Cram Jam. We'll be covering 2 VOD films, or streaming films, I guess you could say, that were released this year. So next week, we're going to be doing a film that has been getting a lot of buzz, and I know at least one of our listeners told us we need to do this, and it was already on our calendar, so to speak. But next week, we're going to be doing the Advent Calendar and another movie called Sator, and both movies are streaming on Shudder. Sator is one of the ones we almost did earlier in the year, but it's been getting a pretty good amount of praise and ending up on some top lists. So I figured I'd toss that in there. But the Advent calendar obviously is, relevant to December, and I know it's been getting a lot of praise. And Aries, sorry, you're gonna have one subtitle film next week. Advent calendar is in French, I believe.
Oh, French even? God damn it.
But
Johnny, can you spell Sator? Sorry.
like Sator. I was trying to enunciate.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
Yep. And both films are on Shudder. I believe Sator is on Tubi as well, maybe. So yeah, if you have Shudder, they're both on there, or you could look on Tubi. I believe Sator is on Tubi as well. So there you have it. That's what's up for next week. We're going to be checking out those two films. And First Time Mike says, sold. I'm going to seek this one out. So he's going to look for The Silent Partner after hearing us discuss it. Yeah, if you're looking for a 70s cat and mouse thriller, this is a fucking great one, First Time Mike. So definitely seek this one out. This one is available. What was the name of that site that you I can't remember the name of the site now that you told us that this was on EF?
Oh, Silent Partner?
Yeah, it was on that one where you need the library card.
Yeah, it's you could stream it for free on Canopy.
Canopy, that's it. Yep.
Kanopy. And yeah, you need library card or something for that. But otherwise, you could get it VOD on pretty much any of the major streaming services, Amazon, iTunes, all that I think is available for like $4 to rent, $10 to buy it on Kino now, I believe.
Okay, so there you go. Get some options for where to check out Silent Partner. And First Time Mike, this is about a half hour ago when Aries pulled out the broom, but he says, "Are we having a broom whipping out contest now?" Everyone whip out your brooms. All right, so we have one voice message. So let me just get this all queued up. I didn't prepare it ahead of time. I'm a little late in doing that, but this one is going to be from Raven Shadow's former tag team partner, still tag team partners sometimes, right, Raven Shadow?
I don't know.
And he may or may not change your opinion on films from time to time.
Oh, don't tell me.
So do you want to reserve the right to change your opinion on either one of these films if your tag team partner has something negative to say?
Is it who I think it is?
Yeah, who else calls and gives their opinion and then you change your review of the film?
Well, let's stay tuned.
So yes, it is Double D. So we're going to hear from yeah, we're going to hear from Double D, the Dominican Devastator. We're going to find out what he thinks. I don't know if he's going to talk about these movies or what, but let's find out. Let's hear from Double D.
Hey, what's going on,
Thank
Trick
you.
or Treat peeps? It's your homie, Double D. I know it's been several weeks since I left the voicemail, but Double D's been busy doing what Double D does. You know what I mean, Raven Shadow. Anyway,
Tricking Mama Wana.
just wanted to chime in on the movies of the week. I only actually got to see one of them, The Silent Partner, which I actually saw many years ago. I thought EF's pick for Patreon Takeover was actually quite interesting. They're pretty older movies. Anyway, The Silent Partner I thought was actually pretty awesome. I thought Elliot Gould and Christopher Plummer as the male leads did an outstanding job, and it's probably one of the better thrillers I've seen in many years. I think it really focuses a lot on matters of conscience and morality, and just dark paths that the characters go through. I think it's also pretty much a very nail-biting crime thriller and a cat and mouse movie as well. I think there are several layers to the main characters for this film. Definitely highly recommend it. And one thing too, that I would say, I think this movie is pretty much a film that was ahead of its time. It was we pretty much watch violent films frequently. I think we're a bit desensitized nowadays, but in particular, there's a scene there. There was a murder in this movie with and a body disposal sequence that really left me squirming. It was a very uncomfortable feeling. So I think it's that good. I think it's very engaging, and I think it's definitely a treat for me. Highly recommend it for anybody who's into that type of genre. So I'll recommend it to anybody. Now, I didn't get to see last week's show. I just caught the tail end of it because I wanted to see what the movies were and what was going on for this week. And what is this fucking bullshit I hear that MC is leaving the show? Get the fuck out of here! What are you gonna do on Thursdays for 3 hours, MC? You know what I mean? Watch fucking Cannibal Holocaust in Hungarian or Sanskrit in a special Criterion edition. Get the fuck out of here! You're not going anywhere. You're not leaving. So I don't give a fuck what you said. So you know what's good for you? You're gonna stay on the show because I need to see that dynamic duo of you and Aries fighting each week. All right. So if you don't want me to call a couple of hard pipe hitting, you know what, to get to work on you with a pair of pliers and a blowtorch, you better stay on the show. Anyway, looking forward to today's show. Double D out.
Well, you heard it there. MZ, what do you have to say to that?
I guess I better stay then, huh?
Ravenchild, did you put him up to that?
Man, that's the thing. That's the thing about the Kobayashi Maru, man. We're just all on the same page. No matter what chapter we're reading. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's the beauty of it. And he's the Dominican Republic. He fucking knows, okay? They shot Poppy over there. Just saying. You think you don't fucking know some guys. Yeah. It all worked out. And they found the guy that did it. And you know what? He didn't go to trial. I'm just saying that. I'm just saying.
Aries, you almost fall over?
I think I just broke my chair.
Okay, good.
Damn it.
Consider salad.
There we go.
But no, just listen. Once again, Double D. He fucking knows.
He fucking knows. All right. So we do have to wrap things up, though. So we appreciate hearing from you, Double D. Always a pleasure, my friend. And hopefully we'll get to hear from you again sometime soon. But it is time for us to say farewell to our good buddy EF Contentment, and also time to end the show. So I appreciate you introducing two films that I had never even heard of. It was pretty awesome to check these out. Super excited that I got to see Silent Partner. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have known about it. So I appreciate you introducing these films to us, and also gracing us with your presence and your film knowledge. It's always fun to talk film with you, and I love hearing your thoughts on social media and in your podcasts and in your blog. So it's always a pleasure to have you join us. So I appreciate that, and also for your support, EF, over the years. It means a lot. So I appreciate that, and I'm glad that I got a chance to say it to you firsthand like this. So thank you.
Likewise to all of you. I mean, I really, really like this show, and it's I really appreciate the appreciation, and I do feel so I guess this is possibly MZ's last sitting in on a Patreon takeover, and so there's definitely some honor felt in that for me. But also, it is kind of crazy to think that, like, the last time I did the Patreon takeover show, it was 1 week after the U.S. presidential election which Trump lost, and now I'm here a week after MZ made his announcement that he's going to be leaving the show. So basically, I'm good to show up 1 week after some scumbag's on his way out. And I'm honored to be part of it.
Hey, just to make you happy, I'm going to continue being a scumbag come next year. Okay?
Hey, look, as long as you do it in the AMC A-list voice, I will be happy, sir. And you will be, honestly, you'll be missed, sir. You will be very missed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I am an A-list scumbag. I will do whatever the fuck I want.
Jujubes. I don't want jujubes. I wanted snow caps. Where are my snow caps?
Also, MZ, first time Mike says, yeah, MZ, who am I going to make obscure fucking horror references that only you would get to now?
I know.
Man, have fun.
Let's go. All right, let's go to this obscure thing. We were talking about Christopher Plummer earlier. You know, he did an exploitation film. Or at least what could be considered an exploitation film nowadays. He narrated a documentary in 1981 called Being Different.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically, let's see. Oh,
I got it right here.
Yeah,
What the fuck?
Jesus
Everything
Christ.
you fucking have is in boxes to go to fucking Maine. But you have that fucking, I don't even know what I'm looking at. It looks like fucking Rocky after being pounded by Drago. What is that?
Wait, Rocky Dennis or Rocky Balboa?
Both.
Both of them.
I want Rocky Dennis. I don't know.
Rocky Dennis Balboa.
It's like,
yes, with the sun shining on his face, and it's basically
The wind in his hair. Ice cream.
It says here the true story of a modern day elephant man and other human oddities. So it's basically
So it's your
Christopher
biography.
Plummer, basically, although I don't remember being in it. About Christopher Plummer, and all he does is narrate about these people who worked in the sideshows, in the circuses. Bearded women, fat men, fat women, tall guys, the whole gambit. So and for the longest, and I think up until he died, not long after he did this, he kind of denounced doing this movie. That he was kind of ashamed that he had anything to do with it, because all it really does is, you learn a few things about these people, but really what it comes down to is just pure exploitation. It's an interesting watch. You might find it on YouTube. I don't know. I mean, it's called Being Different, but look for it. Check it out. It's an interesting documentary.
The first time Mike says, I did not know Plummer did a fucking Mondo movie. He says, I'm going to miss you, MZ.
Hey, I'll still be around.
We'll have to
Just
do
not-
MZ's Mondo Minute like every 2 months or something.
A Mondo Minute.
The
with
Mondo
MZ.
Minute. Oh, man. All right. So we'll go around. EF, before we do that, once again, let folks know where they can find your podcast and your blog.
Yes, it's the Exiled from Contentment blog /podcast. So you could either read it or listen to it. I'm very accommodating. So you could just look it up at exiledfromcontentment.blogspot.com, or just Google Exiled from Contentment or EF Contentment. I have a social media presence on Instagram and Facebook, where I pretty much will do like mini reviews of movies that I watch. I've been watching every movie you guys have been watching in the past year.
Yeah.
Forming my own little top 13 list. So I put that out when I can. But yeah, if you just want to, look it up right there.
Yeah. So everyone give EF a look, and I'm sure we'll have him back on the show again in the future. So, all right, let's go around the room and everyone say their goodbyes to the listeners and also to EF, starting with MZ.
EF, talking to you again, my brother. This is the last time. But
wow.
It's been fun. Hey,
It sounds like you're about to
social
kill
media.
yourself. Jesus Christ.
fucking do it. Just do it.
But I'll see you on social media, my friend. And so thank you for showing up tonight. 2 more good picks, man. You know how to pick them. Arrivederci, douchebags.
All right, Aries.
All right, EF. thank you for thinking of me with your picks. That you were considerate. That I have a lot going on and didn't have a lot of time to sit and read a movie. I appreciate that, and thank you for coming on and supporting us. To everyone else, goodbye.
Raven Shadow.
Hey yo, yeah, you my boy, dude. Gonna hang. Message me. I think we gotta do some kind of like internet watch along. Me, you, and Corny will watch. Blood in, blood out, and we'll just fucking talk raw during it. That'd be sexy. I'm not sure how to make that happen, but I'm pretty sure between you and Corny, you can figure it out. And I'll press play. But no, thank you, man. You rock. Everything you write is great. And thank you very much for your contributions to the Patreon and your voicemails. God damn. That fucking Monster Zero Police Academy Blue Oyster bar thing. Still fucking legendary. And then it wasn't lost on me. Which movie was it? I think it was Elliot Gould picture where the bar, the Silver Dollar, where the girl worked at. Wasn't that also the one featured prominently in the old Kids in the Hall sketches?
It was there, and it was also in Adventures in Babysitting and a couple other movies and shows.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm talking about, but yeah, bro. EF, thank you so much, brother. Until next time, live fast, love hard, survive with your mask on.
All right, and the iPad is about to die. So 1 sec. That was fucking funny because I was like thinking Raven Shadow would be like done. And then you kept going and going and going. And I was going to try to swap out the device. And I'm like, come on, man. It's going to die. It was literally on 1% ticking down. And I was just waiting. But all right. All right. So, yeah, that is it. EF, thanks again, man. It's awesome to hang out with you. And appreciate you and your support and your film knowledge as well. So, thank you. Everyone go check out EF's blog and podcast. And follow him on social media. And if you like talking films with EF, you can help. You can join the Discord, and EF's on there. EF is usually at the Monsterpiece Theater Movie Club. He's usually at the Blackout Tapes when we have those. So if you guys want to just shoot the shit and talk movies, we're going to be doing this month. So if EF's going to be around, you can hang out and just shoot the shit and talk some movies with EF. If you don't want to hang out and talk the shit, shoot the shit with us. So there you go. So, all right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. We appreciate everyone who tuned in live. We appreciate the voice message from Double D, and to everyone else who will listen to the podcast when it drops, and especially all of our Patreon supporters, especially EF. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, and we'll see you next week for episode 490. See you then.